What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 725 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk Hot Tags of the Week. I am back to being your host, as always, other than the past couple of weeks where Callum Wiggins was holding down the fort to me. I am Tony Mango, and Callum Wiggins is here as well, as always.
Relegated once again, but it will be mine at some point.
Yeah. And Robert DeFelice as well, of course.
I'm just happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with both of you and to be back with the podcast in my usual form and able to, do the hot tags like in any capacity as well, since I'm not, trying to do it on my phone through an internet service that wants to crap out every 10 minutes and all the other elements that go along with that. I want to catch up on, because I didn't get a chance to really give my opinion about some of these things that normally each one of these topics could have been like a big story in and of themselves on each particular week. So, you guys had a busy set of hot tags to go through for those two episodes.
Definitely last week's one was very, very busy.
Pretty insane.
The week before that, the week before that would have been busier if I'd remembered that Bound for Glory was happening, but then I forgot about it, so I just didn't talk about it.
To be fair, I mean, it's Bound for Glory. Yeah, when it comes to Bound for Glory, I'm not really going to go through too much of that because it's like, all right, well, quick opinions and stuff, but obviously I don't need to tell you what my predictions were and whatever. But, we got quite a bit to break down from that, and then, of course, all the things that happened this week, so as we always do, we always want to know what you have to say. So drop a comment below on whatever platform it is that you're listening to us on. Maybe you are on our Discord channel. If you are, then, there's plenty of different channels for you to have fun over on that front. Keep in mind, too, that if you are on YouTube, to hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, get your email alerts set up for the post shows and any kind of live content that we bring your way. Next one being, of course, the NXT Halloween Havoc post show, immediately coming up tomorrow night after the event, which I'm hoping is over around 10 because it's supposed to start at 7. But who knows if that's going to be 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that. So that's all the more reason for you to have your emails set up for that. So that way, when I do go live. It's usually about like 10 minutes or so after the pay-per-view, just to give myself a little bit of a break when it comes to like writing up the last little bits of news and double checking about the audio and all. But also keep in mind to help support us. A couple different ways that you could do that. Toss a little spare change our way with the thanks button or the live chats on the or the super chats on the live discussions. Redbubble and TeePublic for merchandise options. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment and the YouTube channel membership. They're both exactly the same. So if it's $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever it might be, it's all greatly appreciated. And we want to thank you for your support. And something that I'm going to post up, I don't know, whenever I get a chance to post it. I got to write up like some kind of quick thing on the website or whatever. But I noticed that there's this option of like a preferred source on Google. And if you are somebody who checks smarkoutmoment.com a lot, or if you just want to give us a boost or something like that, you can add SmarkOutMoment as a preferred Google source for your searches. So that will give it like a prioritization boost. And then, if you're doing a search and you say you want to, do the heel and face turn list or, title change or whatever like that, if you search for like WWE or whatever, there's more of a chance that SmarkOutMoment comes up. So saves you a little bit of effort from typing out SmarkOutMoment or something too. Keep that in mind. All that stuff's great. And I guess let's start getting into what we got going on. Now, I mentioned before Halloween Havoc. We already did our pay-per-view point predictions for that. So we'll kind of skip over the NXT portion of the ring side stuff that we got going on and, focus on Raw and AEW and all that. But I do want to go back and talk about some of these other hot tags that you guys had given your opinions on, and I didn't get a chance to. Predominantly the releases that had happened, because like Kota Ibushi breaks his leg. Obviously, that's fucking awful, and it sucks that he's in this like doomed to repeat this cycle kind of thing. So hopefully he gets better. I love the return of some of the old entrance themes. That was very nice to hear, like the Street Profits old theme and Nakamura's old theme. So I don't know why Sheamus didn't have his. It seems like they go back and forth with Sheamus a lot with that. I don't know why. But I am all down for a good amount, if not most, of the Def Rebel themes to go away because they've not been good. There's been like for every good one, there's like 12 bad ones. You get like a Blake Monroe that's really good, and then you get all the other like generic ass. I couldn't tell you if that's an NXT person or somebody on the main roster type. And the prediction side of all those things that already passed by. The Santos Escobar thing, we start getting into the hot tags for the releases and stuff. That's weird. He leaves only to resign the next day and then hasn't been seen. So I don't know what's going on with that. To be honest, I was kind of hoping that he would have left because I like Escobar and they're not doing really much at all with him. So I was like, I'd like to see him against some AEW people. But I guess
the rumor is that he's supposed to be on the next Raw.
On Raw?
Yeah, that was like one of the last things I saw about Escobar.
I wonder if that's to switch Legato over, or if it's just like we're going to separate him and he's not doing anything with Los Garza or something.
I guess we'll see.
I'm very disappointed about the onslaught of releases from a lot of the Evolve talent. Not necessarily for like every single person, because let's face it, there are some people that like, you know, I wouldn't have necessarily been like, we got to axe that person immediately, but I can understand not seeing a whole lot of progress by them. But then there's some other people where I'm like, God damn, you didn't give them a chance to shine. Like, wow, let's go through this list. Like Draco Knox, I don't even know if he's good or not. The guy has been on TV like 10 times, and I think like 8 of them, he's just been a security guard in NXT. So what's the, like, was he that bad? And if he was that bad, why'd you sign him to begin with? You know, like, that's kind of crazy to me. I don't think he's like Zara Zakher. I don't think she even showed up for like a vignette or something. So that's weird. Lance Anoa'i, the hell happened there?
He got injured.
And they were just like, fuck it, we don't want to pay you if you're injured. I mean,
well, first of all, that's a theme now.
Rich Holland, Kylie Ray, like, that's shitty. The Rich Holland situation in particular, like, I mean, the Kylie Ray situation's, you know, that's shitty too, because you know, it's not like she was like, let me go get hired by WWE and then get pregnant. But like, Holland got injured in a TNA match, and if you're like, oh man, you're not going to be able to make a living for a while, we should take your money away from you. Like, God,
a TNA appearance, by the way, that he wasn't paid any extra for.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's like, come on, if it walks like a duck and acts like a duck and quacks like a duck, you know, you're an evil corporation.
Do people need to like recognize this? Like TKO has like, obviously it's
disgusting.
UFC as well. Well, it owns the UFC as well. The UFC like if you think like this is bad, and this is bad, definitely don't get me wrong, but like they treat UFC fighters like absolute garbage. Like as soon as you like start to lose a little bit of your luster, they will just drop you like a sack of shit. And that's where you actually, you know, wrestling is one thing. Obviously, people still get hurt in doing it. It's not like the most safest occupation in the world, but UFC, that's legitimate fighting. That's serious like injuries that you could suffer through the course of a fight. And yeah, if you lose a bit of steam or momentum, or you're not seen as marketable as you were anymore, then they'll happily just throw you under the bus and act like you never existed.
Yeah, and I wish I could skip to that end of late stage capitalism where the bubble bursts and everybody has the next idea that actually is like, okay, can we just be decent human beings again? You know,
we're gonna be dead by then.
Yeah, I mean, we will be. I mean, that could be tomorrow. But like that whole situation, that Rich Holland thing, that sucks. And it's like, I don't want to say that sucks in the sense of like, oh, because Rich Holland was going to be a 12-time world champion. Like, realistically, he wasn't. You know, he had reached a ceiling. He wasn't getting over with the crowd in a way where, like, I could see why they would go, okay, well, we don't really want to invest in him anymore. But, like, the timing of it and everything, that's the shitty element of it on top of it. Because if he were healthy and you go, you know, you've been in the company for a bunch of years and we just don't think that we want to continue with that, then he goes and he, you know, wrestles elsewhere. He has some other kind of job or whatever. But like, For you to be like, wow, it sucks that we can't milk whatever's left out of you, so now fuck off. That never is going to sit well with me, and I really just don't like it when people are bad people. And, you know, business to me is not one of those things where they're like, there's no ethics in business. Fuck you. You know, if a corporation can be like registered as a human being in some places and all, like, you burn in hell. But like, even when it comes to like the specific talent, I look at like some of the people on this list and it's like, Wesley, you didn't give him a chance to go on the main roster, and maybe he wouldn't have gone like in a, you know, super high direction. Maybe the guy would have been a mid-carder. He could have been the next Akira Tozawa that just is there for a bunch of years losing or something. I don't know. But like, you didn't try. You didn't offer him the opportunity to do it. And somebody like Jamar Hampton, it seems like he is like, wrestling's not for me. I'm incredibly athletic, but I can't figure it out. That's okay. You know,
did he actually say that? That's interesting.
He had said something about like my journey in pro wrestling's over or something like that. Like where like it indicated that it's like, well, I'm not going to be trying to wrestle elsewhere. I probably am not going to do this wrestling thing. Super athletic guy, but he couldn't get the psychology down and he couldn't get the promo stuff and whatever. And that's a big portion of it. Totally understand. BJ Ray. They made this dude like the main character of 2 seasons worth of LFG after doing nothing with him. And then they're like, okay, well, now that we've invested all this time and stuff into you, now we want to get rid of you. What's with this burp of like, we're not going to do anything. And then in the last like 5 months, we're going to go, oh shit, let's scramble. Never mind. You didn't immediately make everything better in that short time frame. Hayes Jameson just started. I think she was signed to like March or something, if I remember correctly. And it's like, that girl needs some time to like, I don't know, fucking learn from the learning facility you have. Give her a break. Summer Sorrell, if you mixed Hayes Jameson's promos and Summer Sorrell's in-ring work, you'd have somebody that people would be like, oh, it's another Sol Ruca. But you don't want to give them any kind of chance to succeed. And then I don't know. I liked Bryce Donovan enough. I think that he should have stuck around too. I liked some of what I had seen from Gintala enough that I wouldn't have nixed her either. Stevie Turner's interesting because she's like, oh, I get to wrestle again.
That's so sad, but also very funny.
So why was she not allowed to wrestle? Was this a concussion thing?
Well, that's also possible, I guess.
Yeah, like maybe that's like they wouldn't clear her, but she knows that she could wrestle elsewhere because people wouldn't care elsewhere. Or maybe they really didn't like her wrestling and they were like, we're just more interested in you in a manager capacity. I don't know, but that'll be an interesting story to follow. But I hate releases. It sucks. I hope that everybody bounces back. And I had written up some stuff on some EWN question of the days about like where I would want certain people to go. In particular, Zeta Steel to me is like a what the hell? You didn't want to try to keep her?
Well, because I didn't say she chose not to stay.
Supposedly, she left on her own accord, which is also kind of crazy because it's like you're already signed to WWE and you're like 21 or something. You could go elsewhere and learn and all that, and I hope she does, and then she comes back or find success in like AEW or something. But like, it is kind of weird.
She's made it quite clear over a few like posts and things that came out soon after that she wants to wrestle Mercedes.
Oh,
you're not going to be able to wrestle Mercedes Moné if you're in WWE, at least not at the moment.
That's actually really I respect that. Like,
I didn't see that. Yeah, kind of okay. Kind of good for her then.
Well, I think that there is. You do have these people that like, even though like a good end goal is WWE. I'm not saying that they should just like boycott it or anything along those lines. Like you're going to get more. It's a good like starting point with the ID program to get yourself like a consistent salary, so you can go to different places without having to worry about where your next paycheck's coming from or anything along those lines. But and get a little bit of like extra support and that wise. But then have the opportunity to go on your own and to learn about yourself and what your persona should be, what your ring style should be, and you only really develop that by touring and doing more independence, going to different places. And fundamentally, WWE, the ID program is good because it allows people still do a lot of independent work, but it restricts you from going to certain places. So if you want to at some point work in AEW or try out AEW or try out CMLL or try out Stardom or something of that ilk, you're not going to be able to do that through WWE ID. So you need to, it's given her an immediate platform, gets a little bit of notoriety through that, and now she can pursue her own path as a wrestler, and then maybe at some point come back to WWE in a few years' time when she's developed more and figured out more about what she wants to be in wrestling.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. I liked her already enough that I was just like, at first when I saw that there was the release, I was just like, oh, fuck me. Come on. What could you not have seen in this girl that you see in other people? Like, she's better on the mic than a lot of the other people. It's a lot of people that are on the main roster even. And like, she's young. So you have like you can't go, she's, past her prime or whatever like that. She's as rock solid in the ring as the rest of them can get. Not my necessarily favorite in the ring, but like compare her to somebody like Elaine Reed. Like, yeah, of course they're on the same par. If not, Zeta Seal might be better. And for her to say that she left, I was like, all right, well, I hope that she at least goes around, keeps doing that stuff, builds up a better name for herself, and does that kind of thing. I'd like to see her in AEW or TNA or elsewhere, rather than a place that I wouldn't watch. But I hope she ends up coming back at some point, because I think that she probably would eventually work best in WWE. And a lot of these people, like Bryce Donovan and all them, like, I hope that they bounce back enough, and that maybe there's some element of this that's like the contracts are kind of wonky, and like how they had like released all those people that were associated with Rikishi's promotion. And it's like, well, maybe they're still on the radar, but maybe they technically don't want to spend the money on that. Of course, we can get into the whole idea of the company spending money on things and wasting money and doing all that. But,
they're making record profit. They have to keep making record profit.
Yeah, we've talked about that ad nauseum. That's what happens when you're in bed with the whole, ballroom jackasses. So,
that was a hot tag last week. You want to talk about that Hunter is going to be doing more at the White House? Absolutely
disgusting. I hope it completely falls apart and they get punished for all their actions, because karma is a bitch. And, a nicer way to phrase that is, I hope that you get exactly what you give to everybody else in return. Yeah, and if you hear that sentence and you go, oh shit, then, stop being a piece of shit.
He goes off to the White House while a computer takes his place in the creative room.
So that AI stuff, that was definitely a story. I've seen, I'm in and out of it for the past 2 weeks and stuff, so maybe I'm missing some elements of this, but it seemed to me like they hired somebody who is like some outsider person. They want to try to use AI for like storytelling and other things as well, which is like, of course, every fucking thing in the world is like, you can't click on Adobe Acrobat without it being like, do you want to sign up for our AI assistant? Oh, do you want AI to do whatever? And most of it's garbage and most of it sucks. And I could show you my ChatGPT records, or I could show you the fact that Sora, for instance, bugged me for the last 3 weeks to give them a full-on breakdown of why this thing wasn't working. That still isn't working, by the way. And then asked me to screen record it. And then said to me, we still don't know what the hell is going on. Can you provide an HAR file and record your like network connections and all this complicated shit? Because they couldn't figure out what's going on. And they're like, you need to help us with fucking ChatGPT. And I'm like, God damn it. Why is this Tony Fixes America again? And they've since gotten back to me and said, oh, thanks. Based on your fucking file, we will start to fix this now for all the people that have been complaining since August. So you're fucking welcome, Sora people.
Did they actually say for all the people who've been complaining since August? I'm sure they
no, but they said now that they ran through my record thing, now they can figure out what's happening, that because they've discovered other issues based off of my file and whatever. And
I mean,
it's
Tony,
like,
if you're willing to help out AI, there are people who are going to pay you for that at least.
I should be getting fucking paid. So WWE, hey, but supposedly the Hardys used AI in their most recent graphic for sorry about the fucking New York shit, everybody, for the sirens in the background. We're back to that again. The promo with the Broken Rules match potentially had AI used in that, and then some reports had said something about like that they're using AI for like keeping track of information, which let me tell you, do not do that. I had an argument with ChatGPT yesterday where I was like, can you just put this in order of fucking chronological dates? And it's like, here you go. And then I'm like, why is November 14th after November 15th? And it's like, you got me there. And I'm like, fuck, god damn it. Like, so you cannot trust this thing, and they should not be using AI to keep track of things that they could just pay an archivist for, and they will do the right job the first time without any issues.
Shout out to your wife.
Yeah. She gets it. But I do understand the use of AI for certain things. And this is where I can come into the defense for it of if they used AI to do some kind of wacky graphic bullshit, that would have been much more complicated for that broken rules thing. And it saved them some effort and, whatever it might be, then I can understand why they would try to do that. But if they're trying to get AI to, according to the one report, write stories of Bobby Lashley being super obsessed with Japanese culture, I don't know if I want to. But part of me kind of wants to watch that WWE and just be like, all right, the madcap nonsense of that is something. But then, the bigger part of me is like, please don't. Has anything been more clarified about that? Is that basically the gist of what's been happening, or am I grossly uninformed about this story?
Well, there is kind of conflicting reports about it, because the report originally came out about the idea that AI would be used in some form for storytelling and creative, as well as for video editing, production, just more admin sort of just time-saving activities. And then it kind of was debunked by saying, it's not going to be involved in the creative process because of certain storylines where they've tried to use similar things in the past that have fallen apart, and so coming out and saying no one's going to get fired or get their jobs taken away, which is rich coming from WWE because everyone eventually gets fired. So them just saying that in any context is laughable, but essentially it was debunked. And then today, the Wrestling Observer newsletter basically doubled down on the fact that from their sources, they've been told that they are planning on using AI for storytelling and creative direction. And basically they've had a thing with Triple H and a few other executives coming into the creative room, basically to reinforce the idea that no one's losing their jobs. Apparently they made some sort of joke about how except this guy, in order like a little tongue-in-cheek thing. No one's losing their jobs except you. Ha ha ha. Isn't that funny? And then everyone's going, well, you actually fire people quite regularly. That's not exactly a nice joke to be thrown around. And
it would be kind of funny as a joke though if that's perpetually it's always the same guy.
Yeah.
It's just that's Greg.
And he's the one guy that will never get fired for whatever reason.
It's always just none of you are going to lose your jobs except Greg. And then it's just wow, everybody's going to order lunch. Does anybody want anything except Greg?
Yeah. That would be quite funny if there was a guy like that.
I was going to hand out Christmas cards. I really like having my my annual Christmas card. Greg's not getting one. It's so good.
Yeah. But apparently there's a lot of a distrust behind these, not just because of the recent release and stuff like that, but after the again, this is one of these things that you don't do. You don't work the boys, or you don't work the backstage team, because there's a lot of distrust surrounding the Seth Rollins thing, because no one was told about his injury not being an actual legitimate injury. And yeah, that's the thing. Is I know it's a good idea to have surprises from the fan base, and in order to do that, you can't actually tell tons of people behind the scenes because someone's going to leak it and someone's going to find out. But then again, like pretty much the entire time that the Seth Rollins injury is happening, I think Dave Meltzer in particular was basically saying, yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back at SummerSlam. He's going to win the title. So it wasn't exactly like a completely hidden secret, but they would probably rely on the fact that no one would trust what Meltzer would say, and so they could still act like, oh, it's the biggest shock ever that he's come back. But everyone was kind of already thinking there's a good chance that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I kept him on my fantasy league team because I was just like, I don't know. I don't trust that this is fake. And then, of course, now the Boyo Gry Wolf situation, Rollins does get injured. Yeah. And then it ends up being people are like, I don't know. He's injured this time. They're not going to fucking do what they did a second time. And there's no benefit to it because they split division. It's not like they're just like waiting on something, which that was like a hell of a story to have. I'm doing fucking Raw coverage and I'm like, all right, well, let me pack up my laptop. And, it's harder for me to do coverage over there because I don't have the same setup and everything. And I'm like, I'm just going to like get up and, like get this stuff like all set up and whatever. And then I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened? And then I'm like, let me plug the laptop back in. I was not anticipating that whatsoever. That's for sure.
No, I didn't see it until later. I think I saw it on social and I was like, oh, is this real? Because splitting the vision like that came out of nowhere. But again, didn't see Crown Jewel, so didn't see Seth completely wreck his shoulder on the diving headbutt.
I didn't notice it. Like, I didn't figure that there was any kind of injury. I was just like, yeah, he did the, flying the coast to coast, and it is what it is. Maybe he's like, selling. I didn't go like, that looked kind of bad, and we won't watch out for that. Especially because with Rollins, I tend to think like, if it's his legs, then I'm worried. Shoulder.
Yeah, well, now he's only got one good limb left.
Seems like. Yeah.
I love
Seth Rollins.
Jesus Christ. I love him, but it's getting a little worrisome. Where it's going to be like, oh man, you're going to get the people who are like, don't even put him in the ring. He can't even go in the ring, but until it's time for him. Ironically, it's like Punk, isn't it? Where for a long time after AEW, it was like, oh no, Punk is wrestling. I hope he doesn't get injured.
Knock on wood when it comes to that. It could always be around the corner. What's this thing about TNA's not taping?
Yes, so after Bound for Glory, it was always going to be a case that they were going to take a 4-week break from filming any new content. So the next set of I don't know if it's next set of tapes, but the next set of actual live, well, the next set of new content they're putting out is, I think, from like the 9th of November or something of that sort of week.
It's November 13th is a live Impact. November 14th is a live Turning Point premium live event, and then the 15th will be a taped Impact setting at Full Sail University.
What? So they're setting up a pay-per-view, like with 1 day's build.
Not a pay-per-view.
Premium live event.
They do it. They have like a split in the middle of what WWE does and what AEW does. What they call their PLEs are just exclusive to their streaming platform and are more like, let's say, a Saturday Night SmackDown event. Whereas they have actual pay-per-views as well, like Bound for Glory, which cost more and, are widely distributed.
Kind of like Smackville was.
Yeah. What a weird thing to bring up. But yes, it's
I don't fucking know why Smackville popped in my brain out of all things. Beast in the East was another one,
Starrcade,
yeah. Like things that they should have done. Back when the network was like, this shit made sense.
Big reasons why I subscribed to the network to begin with, yeah.
Yeah. Still think that they should have broadcast just set up one camera to record every house show and then just broadcast the house shows and put it as in your house. Like, it would have made sense. These are the kind of things that, that meme where like the conference table, the guy says something that's like, why don't we try this idea? And then it gets thrown out the window. It's like I would have been thrown out the window a million times. I'd be the Greg in this conversation of like, fuck that guy.
But it's just like pure TNA, this sort of behaviour of like, oh, we do this big Bound for Glory show and we talk about how big the attendance was and we crown a new world champion and do all this other stuff.
And then
we're just now we're going to take a week off and like lose all momentum as a process of it. We just show clip shows for a month and hopefully everyone's going to be excited when we come back. It's like, well, I mean, I guess they're still doing stuff because they're still just going to be on NXT instead. So
since I've been doing more TNA coverage this year than damn near any year other than like 2000 whatever the hell when like it was still like the Booker T and all them by proxy of that I've had to try to explain some stuff to Caroline, and she like doesn't care in the grand scheme of things about any of this pro wrestling crap, but every once in a while she'll be like what's this thing? And I started playing Pokemon Legend ZA, and the like chairman or a chairwoman or whatever it is that pops up on there, I immediately was like, oh my god, it looks just like the woman from AAA, and so did Caroline at the exact same time, like that kind of thing. But the way that I keep explaining TNA is I'm always just kind of like, if you think of something that could be a decent business decision, don't. And like, anything that would make any sense or anything that would be like embarrassing, like it's just, you could, without even paying attention to what they've been doing for the past bunch of years, it seems like they just perpetually do that kind of stuff. And it's always, let's sign this person to a 1-year contract and give them the whole world so that they can be more interesting and go elsewhere than go, well, we lost them. And then like, oh, let's bring this person in there and have them be like, they're not going to be, that was something that made Caroline roll her eyes. She was like, when I had the Bound for Glory thing on, she's like, I kind of recognize these two. Were they in WWE? And I was like, yeah, they were the Iconics in WWE. Iconic with 2 eyes. Guess what their names are now? And she's like, oh, I don't know. It's like, like person 1, person 2 or whatever. And I was like, oh, it's the Inspiration with 2 eyes. And I got a massive eye roll. And she was like, I didn't try it all, did they? And I'm like, no, that's TNA for you. So to have them,
they wasn't TNA that named them that.
I'm sure that they would have gone with something similar. Yeah. Maybe they would have just been like the Iconic Duo or something instead. But
well, that's what they started as in WWE, and then WWE has to trademark everything, so they went with the 2 eyes Iconic.
The no tapings thing. Who's gonna watch a fucking clip show? That's so stupid.
A TNA clip show as well.
Right, on top of that.
Admittedly, like some of the footage will be quote unquote new because it's going to be taken from some of the tapings they did prior to Bound for Glory, where they went to Canada for a little bit. But then again, it's like it's going to be weird because Santana's going to be wrestling on a show and he's not the world champion because it took place it took place weeks beforehand.
Because where you can see where Trick Williams also retained the title over so and so or whatever. Oh wait, we didn't get Trick on that probably. Bound for Glory itself, I didn't do obviously I wasn't going to do a post show or something like that for many different reasons, but it was an interesting enough pay-per-view to watch. Santana win the title, Dudley Boys to win their whole retirement, everything like that. Some good stuff, some bad stuff. Take with it what you will. I didn't get a chance to talk about Takeshita winning the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, it's not something I'm super duper invested in because it's New Japan and I don't watch New Japan, but they kind of fast tracked that. So I think that these theories that you have about where they're going to go with Takeshita and all that going forward, I mean, you're getting some of this right so far, so I'm going to bank on defaulting to what Rob and Callum have to say about that when it comes to predictions at all.
What's going to happen? It's just building towards it's a Okada versus Takeshita at Wrestle Kingdom.
Seems like it.
It's either that or they decide to just throw Tanahashi in for the sake of it being Tanahashi in his last event. But I just don't think that they'll go that route just because, you get then the show has 2 selling points. You see Tanahashi's last match and you get to see Okada versus Takeshita. Why all bundle that into one match? But they're having difficulty selling tickets right now. They need to have things, more than one thing to excite people, because there really is nothing going for Wrestle Kingdom other than the fact that Tanahashi's retiring right now. So
if they don't go with Tanahashi versus Takeshita or whatever, is there anybody else that they've like lined up as a potential?
No.
They're just like not bothering.
Well, I said the only person that could have potentially been is Goto, because he got injured and he lost his title, and so him coming back to try and win it back. And he hadn't been anything spectacular, but he'd been a decent enough draw as champion for the last few months prior to that. But he is having the match with Takeshita, but he's having it a couple of months before Wrestle Kingdom, so it means that obviously isn't going to be the Wrestle Kingdom match. So there really is no one else that they've positioned well enough to fight for that title.
It would be weird if they just went like Takeshita versus like Zack Sabre Jr. in a rematch or something. Then it would be like, God damn it, you're not trying at all. But
yeah, and that wouldn't sell anyway.
Works differently, like
Well, differently is a nice way of putting it right now. I'd say. I'd go so far to say, instead of saying it works differently, I'd say it doesn't work.
It's not a very good product right now. I've unsubscribed from New Japan World. I did that around the same time I unsubscribed from TNA Plus, and I don't regret it because I don't feel compelled to be like, I gotta watch New Japan. It's not there. It's not there right now.
No, I would imagine that there's not many people that are really feeling that urge. They should feel the urge to merge instead. That's much better. Looking through the other things, a lot of them are all like, some of them pass by enough that it's not really worth talking about. This ESPN deal thing, though, that's another thing that's been a hot button issue over the past couple days or so. Everything from they are losing hundreds of millions of dollars to no, they're doing great. Which of course, you got to take everything with a grain of salt.
But that's every WWE deal ever.
Yeah.
It's always either it's a massive failure or massive success for the partner, depending on who you ask and when you ask them.
And it's like both could be just as factual from a perspective of like, say, obviously it's one money or it's the other. They're either losing money or they aren't. One way or another, one of those is a fact and the other one can't be. But, if you get a report that's like, oh, I heard that they're failing. Well, that person could have heard that and it could have been a bullshit story. And then you can also get the whole, maybe that's legitimate. And then when the companies come out and they go, no, don't freak out. Don't lose stock value. Then, okay, well, maybe there's something there. And maybe they're just going, please don't panic and please don't admit that we are failing for this, because if we lose the stock stuff, that's, what it is. If it's not a publicly traded company and they don't have stocks going on, then I trust the company a slight bit more. I don't trust companies at all anymore, but like anybody that is out there trying to play risk management and bullshit corporate speak about like, well, we got to make sure that we say global internetization fucking whatever, because that'll hit some kind of metric on some stock blah blah crap.
Well, what the fuck is global internalization?
I don't fucking know. They pull that crap out all the time, and it's always just like, here's the buzzword that you're going to hear when, there's some kind of stock thing. And it's like, no, this is about rollover units or something. And you're like, fuck you. Talk like a human being. You're not AI yet, but like an ESPN person saying, oh, we're doing amazing, and then not having any kind of numbers to back it up makes me suspicious that they are losing a lot of money, and that they're just like, let's hope that nobody notices the fire. We can go, it's all good here while everything's exploding behind us. And then maybe in the meantime, we can figure something out or things can bounce back and then we can not lose stock money. But it could also just be that maybe because they don't give out the numbers to everybody, maybe nobody knows and they actually are succeeding. It wouldn't surprise me if it was more so that they're losing money, because let's face it, I don't know a single person that is happy and willing to pay the $30 for the ESPN thing. Every single person that I know either didn't, or they were dragged kicking and screaming, and they're like, yeah, I'm only going to do it for certain months, or like, yeah, I'll do that for WrestleMania, I'll stream something, I'll go over to my friend's house, I already have Peacock, so I'm just going to wait, like any of those kind of things. I don't know a single person that's like, oh, this is fantastic and I love it. So you got to imagine that there's less people that signed up for this ESPN deal than the people that had signed up for Peacock, because it's 3 times the price. And then the people that have been signed up for ESPN before and are like, oh, this is great, I get everything. That's like a lateral move. That's not an upgrade, really. So I don't know. But I used the ESPN thing for the first time in Brazil. After having like Peacock wouldn't let me do anything in there because it's like, oh, this is US only product and all that.
That's so weird. You're in a different country. You didn't just go to Netflix?
Well, that's where I was going to get to. Was I was trying to load ESPN in Brazil, and I was trying to load Netflix as well, and I was trying to get anything to work, and the ESPN thing was giving me some bullshit, and the Netflix one eventually worked. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch it on Netflix then. And it was so much better on Netflix, of course, than the ESPN thing. So, take that for what you will. But at the same time, HBO Max is increasing their prices again. So if you thought that AEW is immune from this kind of stuff, no, it's always just all the companies. And, this HBO Max thing is fucking hilarious to me because it's just like, this company, I'll burn the bridge for it even more because like they'll never hire me at this point, whatever. Like, how is somebody like Zaslav being like, I know how to do business. The way that you do business is you do everything wrong and then you just keep repeating the cycle. Like, they're talking again about reshopping around the Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
And it's like,
somebody needs to take that movie.
So you make a movie and you spend all the money for it, and the movie has zero direction and your whole fucking universe is like falling apart. But you're like, I don't know, let's just fucking do whatever. And you make a movie for the budget of your streaming platform that essentially is basically a CW thing. So you basically made a TV show with a slightly higher budget, TV show episode, maybe 2 hours, whatever it might be. And then you're surprised when it turns out like shit. Of course, some other people are like, this is the most amazing movie ever and somebody needs to see it. And then you write it off as, we'll never release this, so we need a write-off for it because we'll make more money if we don't release the thing and we just get a tax write-off than if we actually do that. And then after a while, you're like, oh, can we sell it again? Don't you need to take that money that you got back and give that back into that? Isn't that how that works?
Maybe they think they'll get more. They can even like recoup some loss from that and just resell it for even more than that.
I'm interested to see it just out of curiosity because it's a Batman project, but like Warner Brothers and Discovery, they merged, they unmerged, they whatever, and now it's like they're going to sell and it's going to be the Paramount or whatever. So let's say increase the HBO Max thing, because if everybody knows the one way that you can get more people to give you more money is to charge them more money and do literally the 2 things in the entire world of streaming. Actually, there's 3 things. 3 things are the only things that matter in streaming. And of course, this is like a kicking and screaming thing where like any idiot would tell you these 3 things and then the corporations would go, but I don't want to. And then you're like, well, that's what you got to do. The only 3 things that matter. Is there a wide variety of good content that people would want to watch? Number 1. So don't take shit off of it and don't produce garbage. And then there you go. When you fucking log into Tubi and you see your husband is my husband, I'm gonna, kill you number 3. I had a fucking blast going through that when I was trying to get Evolve loaded up in Brazil, because it was like, oh, you might like these things. And it was like, my alien is my baby mama or whatever. Right now, I just clicked on it just to see what's on here. And it's like, there's some kind of trafficking bullshit on the creator verse of like some weird Christian family or whatever. And then there's like the lesbian homie with Big Jaw, who's the special guest general manager on Evolve, whatever. But quality content, number 1. Number 2, ease of access. As in, if it doesn't work on your TV, you're not going to download the app, that kind of a thing. If you have like, this is only for Roku TVs, well, fuck you, I have a Sony or a Samsung or whatever it might be. And number 3, the price. That's it. People don't want to pay a lot of money for garbage. They don't want to pay a lot of money for anything. They want to pay the less amount of money possible for the most amount of things. And you want to charge them the most amount of money for the least amount of things. So you find a middle ground in there where people want to do. And the answer isn't, we're losing subscribers, so we charge more money. All that's going to do is get people to go, fuck you, now it's $30, I'm going to cancel it. It's not that hard. Oh my God, fucking.
No, what's happening is everybody, and I see this across the board in entertainment, everybody took the time that people were stuck in their homes for granted. Everybody assumed that COVID was just going to be the way that it was forever. You're seeing this in gaming all the time. People are spending all this money on AAA games and no one's playing. And then they're like, oh shit, but what happened? They were all playing. Yeah, because people were home.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with all these streaming services. People were home. So they were like, you know what? I'll pay to get Netflix. And most probably still weren't. But like, I'm sure more than now, we're like, I'll pay to get Netflix. I'll pay to get HBO. I'll pay for this. Look, take it from me. As of yesterday, the only service I have left is Netflix. And that's only because that's how I've been watching all of the WWE program through my VPN. Like, and even then, I can now look at it and go, well, do I need this? And realistically, maybe the answer is no. Everybody, and like Tony's a rare exception because he was always like trying to not get the streaming services. But like me, I had everything. Literally a month ago, I had almost every platform you can think of. I had it just in case something cool popped up and I wanted to watch it. Now I'm like, no, you got too fucking greedy. And no one wants to pay these prices. No one.
What is it for the AEW stuff over in the UK that you have, Callum? Because you don't have HBO Max and that kind of setup and stuff, right?
I use Triller TV.
Triller, okay.
Yeah, so that's AEW Plus. That is a, what is it, $7.99?
Yeah, another
subscription
thing.
Price?
Yeah, you have. Yeah, that's the subscription price, and so that gives you access to all the weekly television shows that AEW puts on, and gives you a discounted price on pay-per-views as well. And
then the pay-per-views are not like $50 even on top of that, right? Or are they?
Yeah, they're about £20. I think is the equivalent of probably about $30 maybe.
So you get a discount on top of that?
Yeah.
Which is like
to AEW Plus, yeah.
If you're spending, say, let's just say it comes out to $30 a month after all that stuff. That's still $20 less than what everybody would pay for just the pay-per-views. And like that type of shit is like, well, no fucking wonder that's worth it. If that's the main way to watch the show that Callum likes the best, both of the shows and the pay-per-views, and it's less money than what it is for that, and it's everything, yeah, that's probably worth $30 a month.
And not for nothing, I've heard from a lot of people who are like, fuck this ESPN thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're charging me 3 times the amount that I've been paying for a decade. I'm not I'm not continuing with this. I'll find another way, or I won't watch the pay-per-views.
Right. Because if you spend $30 for ESPN for the pay-per-views, and then you spend 10 to 15 to 20 or whatever for Peacock for the NXT ones, and then you've got Tubi's free, but like, you know, you got to log on to Tubi, and that's annoying, and it's Evolve, so who gives a shit, really? And then I need Netflix for Raw, and then I need cable for SmackDown and for NXT and whatever. Oh, so you want me to spend $150 or whatever a month just to watch all this WWE stuff? No. And then they go, well, why aren't you doing that? And it's like, because I don't have the fucking money. Because first off, you don't deserve it, and second off, this economy is tanking because of obvious political reasons that nobody wants to know. That only half of the country really wants to actually pay attention to and be a logical human being about. But like, yeah, fucking, if I go to the supermarket and the apples are rotten, I'm not going to buy it. Like, it's fucking simple shit.
It all comes down to the fact that like streaming is still a very new industry. Like the whole streaming industry is still like fairly new in the grand scheme of things. So people were trying to benefit from it because originally there's only a few people that do it, and so they get super popular off the back of it, like your Netflix's kind of deal. And then loads of cable companies decide to jump on top of it as well, and other industries as well, like your Disney Pluses, Amazon Primes, all of that. Just it becomes saturated super, super quickly. And because like you're trying to appease, you're trying to put the best content you can on there, but there's only so, even though everyone's making shit tons of TV, sports, movies, all of that stuff, there's only so much content that can go on every platform. Disney have the advantage of, obviously, they make so much of their content that they can just put whatever they do on there. They own Marvel, they own like Star Wars, a load of other stuff, so they're pretty much set. But for other people, it's okay, you just need to either make your own stuff or find as much good quality content you possibly can. And with the WWE and with ESPN, HBO Max, with AEW and a lot of other places as well, it's just literally a scramble to just try and put anything on there that would appeal to a certain subset of fans. But the problem is, as you say, it has become so saturated so quickly that you can't have all of those subscriptions. Not like people these days can't have that many subscriptions because it's just financially irresponsible to do so. But they're still going to pay them to do this because, like, Netflix is still going to pay WWE and ESPN is still going to pay WWE these huge amounts of money because they need this stuff, because they can't get subscriptions any other way. They need to. So that's why I have no doubt in my mind that ESPN is losing money on this WWE deal. But in their mind, they see, oh, in X number of years' time, it will all be worth it because we'll have all of these subscribers and it will be great because eventually all this stuff will add up over time. So we might be losing money now, but in, I don't know, 3-4 years' time, it will be looking good. And that's probably what WWE thought when they started the network, and then that didn't work. And all these other places will find out, oh, this doesn't work because we just don't have the money to spend on all of this stuff, and we're just going to go with the one or two that appeals to us the most and find, other ways of getting this other content, or just not watch this other content because we can't afford to do so. We can't divide our time up. You can't just pay one-off per episode or show or film you see. So yeah, I'd say it's not even the fault of AEW. It's not the fault of WWE. It's not the fault of the actual content creators themselves.
No.
It's just that there's so many platforms and they're having to spend so much money just to get these people on these platforms. WWE, if ESPN is going to offer you $300 million, you're going to take their money. You don't care in your own sense. Obviously, you want to make sure viewership's high because it means you'll get re-signed for even more money down the road. But in the moment, you just go, well, yeah, I'm just going to take your money and we'll see what happens when it happens. If we lose it, well, someone else who's desperate for content to put on their platform will pay us a shit ton of money to do it as well. So it's always like this really good and bad time for content creators, because right now you can make a shit ton of money based on streaming services' desperation for any kind of unique content, but eventually this is going to burst really badly and everyone is going to be badly affected by it.
Yeah, I don't blame WWE for taking the money. I of course bemoan WWE in their the corporate ball tickling when they go like, no, this is the best thing ever and everybody should love that we're making this money, and do like all the other kind of things where they like stand up for their partners and all that kind of shit like that, because to me, like, all that evil stuff. But like, and I don't have an economics degree, so like I can't speak to like specific things when it comes to this, but like just the way that the world works with everything. If something gets popular, everybody tries to cash in on it. There's a bubble that gets bigger and bigger, and then eventually it gets oversaturated and everybody realizes that there's not actually enough money to go around and there's not actually enough interest. And then one by one, things start falling apart. The bubble bursts, and then the few things that stick around, if there are any that stick around, are able to be like, okay, well, we're the giants that stand, and then everybody else we kind of like absolve. It's the same as anything that happens with that. That's why when you, for instance, I have up on my screen right now, I've got the blueprint for my Absolute Power Rangers story, which, if you don't know what the Blueprint Project is about, everybody go ahead and check out the Blueprint Project and Fanboys Anonymous and all that stuff. Check out Absolute Power Rangers. It's awesome. But the Power Rangers thing is a good example. Power Rangers are super popular. What gets flooded on television in 1993? Mystic Knights of Tirnanog and fucking, VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs and all this. And everybody goes, all right, all these knockoffs, everybody wants to do their own Power Rangers. They all kind of suck. And then even Power Rangers stops being popular. Ninja Turtles is super duper popular. You get Biker Mice from Mars and
great fucking show.
Street Sharks and stuff. And it's like, everybody goes, what other kind of animal can we do? Can we have some kind of Bucky O'Hare rabbit thing? Can we whatever? And then what is the actual thing that sticks around? It's the Ninja Turtles that sticks around. And like, everybody creates their own streaming service. Everybody wants to be the thing that can do whatever. Smart ones are the ones that sold early and were able to make the money the way that MySpace, Tom was just like, all right, I'll sell to whoever it was, Fox or something, News Corp. And it was like, I'll make millions of dollars and then be set for the rest of my life. And then fuck you, Facebook can take off and then that can have its own issues. And eventually we will reach a point where services like Tubi and all that will just be either non-existent or they will be factored into some Netflix or something. Like, it's going to burst the way that we've always talked about. And if you're HBO Max and you're like, how can we milk the last little bit of money out of the people that are still following us before we switch over and then just fudge our numbers and all that? It's not going to work out in the long run. And whatever ends up buying HBO Max and whatever buys DC and Warner Brothers and Discovery and all that, whether it's Paramount or not, if we just end up getting, all right, well, Harley Quinn and those other shows are over on Paramount, fix your fucking app, because that's another thing. And then you can't just go, well, we need to then make our money back. So now it'll be $50 for Paramount, because then everybody will go, wow, a lot of stuff on Paramount now. Shame it's all that money. Never mind. And then you'll be the one that's going, fuck, who wants to buy me? It'll all settle down eventually, but we're in that dumbass period where nobody understands logic anymore. So we have to go through this struggle for years.
Yeah, so eventually it will be to be or not to be.
That is the question.
That is the question.
Whether it is nobler in the... Okay, I'm not going to go on the whole thing. If you have not checked out Hamlet, anybody, like, fucking Hamlet's so good. It's such a good monologue, though. Like, it deserves to be so fucking great. Also has one of my favorite lines in any kind of Shakespearean thing. The funeral baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables, which I did not understand as typical Shakespeare until I had to like decipher it all, which means, damn, your husband just fucking died. You might as well use the same lunch meat to serve the marriage that you did on the funeral.
Nice.
Like, ooh, old school burn. Check out Hamlet, everybody. Not Hamlet 2, that movie sucks. Charles Manson wanted to meet Bray Wyatt. I was like, how do I transition here? Whether to snowboard. According to a story, somebody that knows Bray Wyatt is somebody that eventually became a prison guard at the place that Manson was at, and Manson said that he wanted to meet Bray Wyatt, and that this writer that was on podcast, he was talking about this idea. Then they pitched that they like could maybe do something with like Bray Wyatt meeting Charlie Manson, and then of course they were like, "Fucking no." And,
Okay. First of all, the question is this a compliment? Like, was this complimentary to Bray Wyatt? That
I mean, okay, so it depends on how. I wasn't close to Bray Wyatt. I can't say how he thinks, but if the reaction is, "Hey, I like what that guy is doing. He's like paying tribute to me," does Bray Wyatt go, "I did my job"? You know,
yeah, I mean, it's good from that sense, but it's like, I don't know whether like being complimented on your performance. I mean, if you are trying to play like a cult leader thing and being complimented on performance by a guy who led a cult which resulted in several high-profile murders, I guess in a way it means that you are performing the role well, so you can take it complimentary in that regard. I think anybody that kind of speculated the idea or pushed around the idea of him meeting or doing something with Charles Manson is like don't make a celebrity out of the murderer. Like, that's kind of this is the whole issue with so many things these days. It's like you always there's so many serial killers that become kind of like weird celebrities because of their actions, because they did these crazy things that no one in their right mind would ever do. Like your Ted Bundys,
I'm watching the Ed Gein thing right now. For
oh
instance.
god, I stopped watching it after the first episode. It's awful. It was dreadful. I don't even care if that is what he sounds like or what he did sound like.
Really weird.
Voice. I can't listen to 8 episodes of a guy talking in that voice. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to enjoy that.
Podcast like that for the whole rest of the time.
But it's because it's one of those things that I haven't watched. I would say I only stopped after the first episode because I just thought it was sucked, and I'm not going to subject my time for it. I didn't like. It's one of those weird things, like Dharma, the original one they did for that. It's in of itself, I think it's a really good show. Like, just performance wise, just like the whole atmosphere around it is really good. I don't like it because
Peters is good. Yeah,
I don't like it because it's just historically inaccurate. And they embellish so much shit because you have to do it for TV and all this other shit. Like the fucking romance storyline, it's like, that's disgusting and sickening. The fact they make Dharma look attractive as well is just another issue. I think, because, like, you know, you don't want people simping for a multiple serial killer who ate his victims. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing in this world where we're trying to make serial killers? How sexy are they? Like, that's like the whole story.
Again, like politics these days.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a whole contingent of people that are like, you know what I like? Those terrible people. I like when they do the bad things. It's like, fuck you. Did you not learn anything? You know?
Yeah, publish the list.
No, nobody did.
But I think that, so in terms of this story with the Bray Wyatt stuff, it is complimentary in the regards that if you are putting a performance that the kind of the guy that you're basing it on looks at it and goes, oh yeah, that really has my essence to it, then it shows that he is doing a good job. And I think the whole original Bray Wyatt character was the best iteration of the Bray Wyatt character after, like, they completely fucked around with the Fiend.
Same here.
And so
I never liked the Fiend.
So I mean, I've seen like clips of like Charles Manson, and I can understand the mannerisms that Bray was taking aspects from, because he does have obviously a strange charisma about him. It's kind of like, it's undeniable when you watch him being talked to, that you can see how people that don't have their heads kind of screwed on quite properly get manipulated by it. And so, yeah, you can kind of like look at a Bray Wyatt promo and compare it to Charles Manson doing an interview after his incarceration. You kind of get the same vibe. But yeah, anybody that's did that suggestion was kind of like, I don't know, who are we gonna get? Who are we gonna get next? Like, gonna do the whole WrestleMania 12 like car chase scene. Let's actually get Roddy Piper interviewing OJ afterwards, and like an episode of Piper's Pit with OJ Simpson afterwards. It's like,
well, the supposed rumor, and you can't trust the people from that era, especially. The supposed rumor is they wanted Piper to fight OJ.
I mean, I'd watch it.
See, but that's part of the problem, is people would watch it. I think in this case with Manson, it happens to be that it was like Wyatt's either high school or college football friend was the security guard.
Yeah.
That probably got brought up to Bray. Bray probably was like, hey, you know what I heard? And someone looked at him and said, absolutely the fuck not. And that was
I mean, it's like, I could see this is where like that devil's advocate part of me comes into fact, because like if somebody presents that to a writer's room to me and they go, did you hear that Bray was saying that Charles Manson wants to meet with him? I'd be like, wow, that seems like a bad idea, but let's talk about it for a minute. Like, let's just fucking, instead of talking about, did you watch the game? Let's talk about that. And just like, in theory, if this wasn't a bad idea, which we're all going to collectively agree is a bad idea, right? And like, can we all put our hands up that we're not doing anything with this? Let's just talk about it. And then maybe we can spitball something that we can get out of this that does not involve the actual horrible person. But like, you know, in theory, if we were going to do a backstage interview between the two, what would that lead to? Well, that would expose the Bray Wyatts, whatever. And like, you know, it would be this whole like thing like that. I'd be like, this could be an interesting jumping point for creative discussion, but absolutely not should we film fucking Charles Manson in any capacity or do any kind of thing like that, because we don't want to endorse anything that he did. And then, of course, we're in 2025 where they're like, we're worried about John Cena being at the fucking Capitol for his final match. And it's like, you know, it is
well,
what
we're
it is.
not worried. It's happening.
You think that the Crown Jewel sucked thing was a podcast? Everybody, if that ends up happening, you haven't figured out December 13th post show yet.
And they cut off his retirement speech after 5 minutes because of that break.
I wonder how much of it's just going to be like, I hear this John Cena, he's great. John's great. Good job, John. Great.
It'll be mumbling nonsense while he shits himself, because that's all he does these days. I think that the Manson story is one of these just like, wow, that's kind of crazy, and I can completely see how that was talked about.
But like WWE is also fucking insane.
Absolutely is.
Like they're even like before, you know, now they're like openly on a specific political side and all those things. They're insane. They're the kind of people who are like, yeah, we're gonna do an angle where we suggest Kane had sex with a corpse, and then we're gonna eventually lead to this being that the brother of the corpse comes back for revenge. Like, it's not. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's never made any sense. The last time that WWE wasn't booked like, you know, some kind of odd fever dream was probably like San Martino, where it's just like that Italian guy. Hope he beats the Russian.
Hey, he's Italian. He's a nice guy. I hope he gets some pizza.
Oh, he picked him up and he did the basic ass move. I'm glad I sat there and watched this for 26 minutes where he did nothing.
It's pretty much been like this since like Vince took over, and it became like him trying to turn wrestling into more Bollywood mainstream stuff. Like pretty much with him like interviewing like, you know, Kamala backstage and all this other stuff, and it's like all this other just crazy wild bullshit that you have going on. Like it all stems from Vince, and that's why we see so much of it in TV nowadays. Because even with AEW trying to present itself in some way as an alternative, like everything in pro wrestling nowadays stems from what Vince did 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, because no matter what,
because
no one does anything else. WWE.
Yeah, and no one else thinks they can do anything different, because the pattern has been established so much. They think that doing something different is inherently wrong, and people will immediately reject it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's, you know, something gets big enough, and it is what it is. Like if you say in certain cultures, instead of saying I'll have a soda, it's like I'll have a Coke. And you might not even mean that Coca-Cola. But it's like,
I never
oh,
liked
that's what you mean is, you want something along those lines and whatever.
Well, yeah, it's when the brand becomes like the verb. It's like with the fact that like you don't search for things online, you Google things, or you don't.
Nobody says, hand me that facial tissue.
Yeah.
They were like, give me a Kleenex. Did you see Rocks that? Like,
And that's why so many people nowadays obviously associate just pro wrestling with WWE, and they don't understand that there's obviously other things. Like when you're obviously a more casual person, or you just not even watching wrestling, but you just like if you hear about it in any context, you just immediately say, "Oh, you watch WWE?" Then it's like that's kind of the biggest issue that I have to go through in my day to day. Not that I talk about it too much anyway, but if anyone mentions it, it's like, "Oh, you're going to see the WWE show?" It's like, "Oh, I don't watch WWE." It says, "Oh, I thought you were a wrestling fan." Yeah. And then you start talking about it, and then they want to kill themselves, and I want to kill myself. So
then you have to start going, I'm a wrestling fan, not a sports entertainment fan. And they go, what's the fucking difference? And then after like blinking at you for 6 minutes, then they just go, I watch football.
Well, I'll give you a real world example of that. Just yesterday, I was installing a new smart lock on my door, and the guy's like, "So what do you do for a living?" And I was like, "I write about professional wrestling on the internet." And he goes, "Huh, it's never been my thing, but I like Nacho Libre." I was like,
hey, look, listen, the guy's got taste, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's like I totally get it. Okay. Like,
I rewatched some of that recently. Like it is fun. It's just a fun little movie. It's like it's nothing serious. Like it's just
I've never seen it.
I think they actually do a good job with like actually showing some respect to like lucha wrestling in it. I think that they don't go too crazy with it.
I'm surprised they didn't get Jack Black in the ring.
They should have.
Jack Black was huge at the time.
He slimmed down since then.
I mean, I disagree. I think he was probably slim.
I'd argue he's huger now than he was back then.
He might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, doing the Minecraft. Well, I was saying like doing the Minecraft movie and all that stuff as well. It's like he's obviously like Bowser in the Mario stuff as well. So it's like he's kind of like he's now like super kid friendly, and naturally Bray is a kid's film realistically, but yeah, I think he's kind of almost like a bigger deal now than he was back then.
Real quick side note, since you brought it up, and I have no other means of doing this. Fantasy League's the wrong graphic for me to put up there. I'll put up the Fanboys Anonymous thing. Super Mario Galaxy. You're not going to do Super Mario World for number 2. Come on.
Okay, well, hold on. Pause. We can get into this. Because they did announce that it was going to be Super Mario World. And then they kind of pivoted. And I think the reason they pivoted is because they're going to merge kind of everything from World through Galaxy. Now you're saying to yourself, golly, that's 17 years. But realistically, that's like 2 games. World, 64, maybe you throw a little Sunshine in there, but I doubt it. And then you get to Galaxy. I think you can do it.
What else happens in that stuff? Like, because like I'd say I wasn't like I didn't start playing Mario until 64, and obviously the main villain of that is just Bowser, and it's just doing a load of like hopping from world to world until you defeat Bowser at the end.
Pretty much just that.
so pretty much that's what the first movie is. It's not them hopping from world to world, but it's like it's him and Bowser as the main villain, and he defeats Bowser, and then that's it. So surely you need to move to a place where either Bowser isn't the main villain, or there's just more complexity or more characters to it. So in Super Mario Galaxy, when they actually do the movie, you assume, okay, so this is where you introduce Rosalina, you introduce Daisy, you introduce Yoshi, like you get some other characters in the Mario universe that haven't already been like highlighted before, and probably introduce some other villain alongside Bowser. Like, you can get Bowser Jr. You're gonna
get Bowser Jr. because it's Galaxy.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly read my pitch that I wrote up because I wrote up a thing, Fanboys Anonymous, 2 years ago. My pitch for 2 sequel ideas and a Donkey Kong spinoff. Super Mario Brothers movie 2. Kind got to focus on Yoshi. You got your same characters. This is what you did last time, but you bring Daisy in. You bring Wario and Waluigi in there. You got a couple different things like, throw in some references like Charge and Chuck and whatever like that. But that you end that movie with the Rosalina stuff and you go with that for Galaxy for number 3. And then you end up doing a Donkey Kong Country movie. So you go Mario 1, Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario Galaxy, and then you got your Smash Brothers thing that you could do.
And now, see, that makes a lot of sense chronologically. And the reason you're salty, let's just call a spade, is because you grew up around that time. So Mario World was a core memory for you and something you were looking forward to seeing play on the big screen.
Mario World's a better game than a lot of the other ones.
But except for Galaxy, and I think they know they can do a lot of Yoshi by merging like World and Galaxy, but we'll call it Galaxy so we can re-release the games on the Switch. And look at all this synergy we're having. Pay more money.
Try to get the millennials and the Gen Z.
You're just merging everything. I do want to see Wario and Waluigi. I think if we don't see Wario and Waluigi, that's a crime. I want to see. I know we're gonna get the main green Yoshi, but I want to see like the whole horde of
the ones that flies, blue one, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see like, okay, after Galaxy, in terms of mainline stuff, you only really have Odyssey to go. Where are we going here? Where are we taking this franchise? I'm very, very excited to see what they do.
I think that they might not just tie all this stuff to the video games moving forward. I mean, eventually there's going to be a new Mario game.
New ideas.
They'll have a new Mario game, and so that will connect to. They'll probably do something where even like whether it's years down the line or whatever, if they do Odyssey as a third movie, and then if they go to a fourth movie, it could be a case of, oh, we're doing this movie and it's also being the game at the same time, and they almost release them at the same time for like this weird synergistic effect. But I think that there's, I'd say I think they're just trying to combine a lot of stuff and just giving them cool names. So you could have Odyssey, you could have Sunshine, decide to go back to Sunshine and just build it around that world or that universe. But I think they'll just come up with different things. They'll do spin-off stuff. They'll do the Donkey Kong thing. I assume they won't introduce Waluigi and Wario until you do the tennis movie. And that'll basically be the Mario equivalent of Challengers.
Yeah. Shit, I'd watch it. I watched Challengers, so,
With Peach playing Zendaya. And it's between Mario and Luigi.
I would assume Mario and Bowser. Just go back to him.
I think there are layers here. I don't think we can go straight to Mario and Bowser. I think Mario and Luigi is where we have to start.
Anyway, that's your random voice anonymous. Completely sidetracked, nothing to do with pro wrestling element of this, but
Listen,
that's what you're listening to Smark Out Moment for. It's been a while. I haven't been on the air with these two guys, so I wanted to shoot the shit for a bit. Going back to SmackDown, so when I'm trying to do SmackDown coverage, for context of this for everybody, I'm trying to do SmackDown coverage while I'm also at a Radizio pizza place, and they are perpetually handing me different slices of pizza to eat and trying to keep track of this strange pale New Yorker that is there eating all this pizza. 13 slices for anybody that's curious.
Nice.
Which I was then told was weak. And I was like, weak? I ate 13 slices of this fucking thing. And I ate earlier. I usually eat one meal a day. I ate 3 meals that day. What's the record? And somebody was like, oh, one guy did 56. And I was like, all right, well then fucking, yeah, of course it's weak. Come here. Fuck you, I'll go in my corner, But, I am, indisposed when it comes to what's happening on SmackDown for the most part. And I see Ilja Dragunov returns and fucking wins the Men's United States Championship. And I'm like, man, this would be a great episode to have been locked in and paying attention to it. And by now, of course, enough time to pass by where I'm like, I'm not going to bother to watch the match. I'm sure it was great. it's Dragunov, it's Sami Zayn, it's, you know, spontaneous, like, whoa, oh my god, Dragunov's back, and oh shit, we get a title change. Like, I'm sure the moment would have been great if I could go back in time and watch that properly and all, but it's cool to see Dragunov back. This is a sign for him to get a push, obviously, for him to just immediately win this championship. It's weird that they switched him for Raw at SmackDown, but they do that all the time, so, you know, it's what it is. I'm a little bit worried that Dragunov is one of those types of talents that is more like he appeals to certain people in the back and certain, like, I just want to see a good match types, but won't connect with the bigger audience that is more into, hey, I want Jey Uso's theme to play a second time. And, yeah, I kind of hope that's not going to be the story being told here, but Dragunov is the type that, like, if he can do what Sami Zayn's been doing and just put on banger matches week after week, he'll quickly become somebody that people are like, I like this Dragunov guy, if they're not super familiar with him. And if they book him the way that they've booked so many people that are like him, like Shinsuke Nakamura, or with plenty other IC and US title reigns over the past, Finn Balor has been guilty of this, where they go, all right, well, we don't have to put any effort because a lot of people are just inherently fans of him. And then now we need to figure something else out, but we don't really have a good promo side. So let's stop paying attention to him. If he gets a Julia type of US title reign, he's doomed. And we'll be talking about him dropping that title pre-WrestleMania, I would think. Or they'll drag it out and, you know, drag it out. And it'll end up being the type of thing where it's like nobody gives a shit about his title reign heading into Mania because they didn't do fuck all with it.
So I'm more interested. First of all, Dragunov looks phenomenal. Neck tattoo's cool. He looks like he's in great shape. Had a banger match. I'm very interested in where they go with Sami because it feels like he needs to turn. But at the same time, Sami as a heel doesn't work. So I'm curious to see where he goes. But for some reason, the crowd has completely turned on him. They're tired of Sami. I don't know if it's because they feel like, hey, if you're not going to win the big one, who cares? Which I think would be a little silly and short-sighted. But these crowds are not liking Sami Zayn.
If you're not going to win the big one, who cares? And if you start getting pushed to the big one, we don't fucking like that either.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother problem. But
yeah,
I'm curious to see where that goes. The U.S. title should be the equivalent of a WWE television title. Just put the thing on TV, have banger matches. That's it. That's all you need to do. I like that he's the antithesis of the cowardly Intercontinental Champion on Raw, Dominic Mysterio. I liked everything about this. It was a surprise to me because I didn't watch the show, actually. I didn't watch the show. So all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what do you mean Dragunov is back? And he won the title because I just saw a picture of him shredded with a neck tattoo holding the U.S. title. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I think it'll be a really exciting time for him. And I think it's sink or swim. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, he's getting more of a chance than certain other NXT guys like Carmelo, for example. You know, he's getting a shot. So I hope he makes the most of it.
As I say, I think it's obviously a cool moment for him, and after that such a long period out of injury to come back and immediately be thrusted into the limelight like this. I have my reservations about the potential of the reign because essentially, like, they had the match and they were immediately jumped by the MFTs afterwards. So it's like, oh fuck, his first feud's gonna be with Solo Sikoa, like, kill me now. So I don't think that's not a great starting point if you're there to say, like, oh, he's here to have the banger matches. Let's put him with a guy who can't have banger matches with anybody. So try and see what he can do. So I think that he will just get lost in the shuffle because that's what they do with most mid-card champions anyway. The Zayn situation, I think it does just really boil down to there's some people that always, when like a babyface has been around for too long, or have been just doing the same thing for too long, then there is just an inevitable turning point with them. Like, they would have eventually turned on Daniel Bryan if he hadn't gotten injured soon after winning the world title and all this stuff, because that's just like fans just move on very quickly and then look for the new flavor of the month.
They
And
turned on Kofi, and that's why I always say that like that was the saving grace of the whole Lesnar thing, because they had turned on Kofi.
Oh yeah, they turned on Kofi. They would have turned on Bryan. They're turning on Cody.
Some turned on Cody like 2 weeks afterward, and there's been people here and there that have been turning, and then some people were like, after Cody dropped the belt to Cena, then it became like, okay, well then now I have to like hold my reservations and not be so upset about that. But now that he wins the belt again, now I'm annoyed again. Like, you know, you're cursed to always like, if you succeed, then people don't like it. They want you to be an underdog, and then they want to complain for some reason.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those situations where, like, if you hang around a certain area for too long, or hang around at a certain point, and people just lose faith in you. I think that's also the case with Sammy. Is that whole story of him constantly talking promos about how he needs to win the big one, how he needs to win the title, and they just keep him in the same level over and over and over again, and he always loses his big matches. So eventually you are going to just lose faith in a guy like that, because you're like, okay, you're never going to make him the world champion, so why should I even bother supporting
We call that the Dolph Ziggler effect around this
Yeah, exactly. And there's been plenty of other examples of that in the past as well. So yeah, they kind of lost the peak of his popularity through the WrestleMania a couple of years back where he won the tag titles. I think he should have won the world title then. I know it would have been, because it's just one of the things that they were super invested in having this super long Roman Reigns reign. I think it would have been so much more exciting and so much more interesting had he won the match in Montreal and then just dropped it like a week afterwards to Roman, and then you've got that monkey off your back with the Sami Zayn world title reign. And it just adds a bit more jeopardy to the match with Cody as well. And it would feel like, okay, maybe he doesn't need to lose the match to Cody, and Cody could lose, and it would be a bit more understandable because he's starting a brand new reign, pretty much. But it's neither here nor there. We can always go back and relitigate things. Like Brock Lesnar ruined the whole timeline, and then we've gone in this direction afterwards. But I think that, and so I don't hold a lot of faith with Dragunov being like a mainstay for it. Even if he holds the title to WrestleMania, like what the fuck's he gonna do? What the fuck has any champion done with a long reign going under this regime? Like fuck all. They get super boring. They fight the same people over and over and over again, and like eventually by the time they lose the title, you're almost like glad that it's over, because oh good, he gets to start a whole new 6-month reign with one person holding the title, fighting the same people over and over and over again. Until we're desperate for his time to change and something to happen. That's kind of like the whole thing of this recent Triple H booking regime, especially for the last year or so. It's just like, please do something, anything, for fuck's sake.
And that's kind of my problem with WWE. As I've been saying on this podcast, I haven't been watching as much as I would normally do. And one of the things that isn't holding my interest anymore is like, you know that nothing's going to happen, and they slap you in the face with nothing's going to happen on this show. It's just a fun way to spend a couple hours. At that point, we live in the age, which they like to say all the time, we live in the age where we're competing with everything. Everything is entertainment. But you're not giving me something that makes me go, I want to watch this over literally anything else in the world. You know, and that's been my problem with WWE. That's kind of my problem with the Cena run, is they turned him heel and they said, wasn't that so cool? Okay, now we're going to do fuck all.
Yeah.
It's too much of, hey, we're going to do fuck all because you're smarter fans. You understand. You know why you're here. And I hate that, quite frankly. I think that sucks. And I'm hoping to see across the board in wrestling more TV title changes, more, unpredictable television. I'm not saying go full Russo and have, Mike Rome win the NXT title, but
you never want to go full Russo.
You never want to go full Russo, but you could stand. Look, the Attitude Era was almost 30 years ago. It's 28 years ago. We could start to cherry pick some of those elements and throw it back into the TV. I think you'll be okay.
I'm curious to see where they go with Dragunov, because SmackDown's happening tonight, And they got a great setup for how to follow that up. They've announced Tiffany Stratton will face Kiana James, and Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre are there.
Yeah, I hate when they do that. I have come across the occasional script, and like I've seen these they're laid out proper. Like you guys have seen this when like a script will leak online. They're laid out like they know what they're doing, and they announce nothing, and I don't get why that is.
It's so weird. It's like you even set up Fraxium and DIY, and you can't even advertise that match.
You don't even.
Not that that's gonna be the thing that's gonna give you 10,000 work clicks every minute or something like that, but like it's just the low effort, complete lack of like I don't want to do anything kind of temper tantrum from WWE.
By the
is
way,
insane.
that's the same thing with the AI. They're like, well, it's just so we don't have a blank page to start with. All right, and who's to say? Like, what was the excuse? Oh well, we've tried similar things like that in the past, and it's kind of gotten messed up. Yeah, and the whole point. A human being is still supposed to oversee AI. You can't just go, I push button, job done.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how that works.
Yeah.
Like,
not only does it not work just because the functions don't work, but like then you need the creative deciphering because otherwise you're gonna get the same bullshit. And like I've used ChatGPT on this podcast where like we've done the fantasy booking, and it's been like, all right, I got this team. I can't think of a single name that could go with them. Give me something. Give me 30 ideas. And I'll be like, wow, 28 of these ideas are god awful, terrible shit, but there might be something to those too. And let me see what I go with. Then,
GPT going full Russo.
Or like, it's easier to ask AI something where you go like, hey, if I were trying to figure out and the best culinary mix of spices to complement turkey, what would it be? And then it does a bunch of research and it's like, well, according to these sources, whatever. Like that's what you could use that for. And then you double check and whatever. But like you can't be like book Cody Rhodes for the next year and then be like, all right, I'm just gonna follow that script. Oh no, it says that he's fighting Yokozuna.
Right, and then they're like, hey, I got an idea. Bobby Lashley likes Japan. Like,
right, yeah. So, like, if they're going to ask book Ilja Dragunov, then it's just going to be scraping the internet of people going, I want to see Dragunov versus blank. And then it's just going to be like, here's a series of people that he can feud with. And then it's like, I don't know, maybe the writer could have just looked at the goddamn roster sheet and gone, Dragunov versus Aleister Black looks good. Dragunov versus Shinsuke Nakamura looks good. Dragunov versus Sacred Patu seems like an idea. And then within 6 minutes, they go, there you go. I saved you the effort. And then you go, that's great. Nice job, Greg.
I would say, obviously, this episode of SmackDown this upcoming episode of SmackDown obviously doesn't look super appealing with the things they booked, but it does lead into my prediction, which is that the real star of this Kiana James-Julia partnership is Kiana James. So
she's done more impressive things these past couple of weeks. So
well, she's doing things.
Yeah.
Whereas Julia's just not on TV.
Julia's like, I've got the belt on my shoulder. How about that? The narrative, of course, being that she has to catch up to Stephanie Vaquer, and then Booker was like, it's not like a race and whatever, and it's like, yeah, well, if it was a race, she's fucking lost, like this is not even, this isn't like a hey, Vaquer could take a stumble and then Julia might be able to make up some ground. It's like, yeah, they're not even in the same. This is comparing main roster to NXT or main roster to Evolve or something at this point, but.
Before we move on to other T-Talk, can I bring up a bit, just because we're talking about SmackDown and this is like tangentially related, about Andrade?
Oh, the Andrade thing. That's right. That was another whole thing.
Well, yeah. Well, to be fair, you were still here when he got fired.
Yeah.
And since then, we've had the whole 1 year non-compete clause and the whole ridiculousness around that. We like talks about that ad nauseum about how that's the reason why he's not been appearing in AEW. That's the reason why he's not feuding with Kenny Omega right now, is because WWE is tying him to a 1-year non-compete. Now, just to add another little wrinkle into this, there are reports coming from like lucha circles or like the lucha insiders that the reason why WWE is enforcing this 1-year non-compete clause is to try and bring him back to the company.
What?
Yeah, that came from Mike Johnson. That within lucha circles, the feeling is that WWE might be trying to leverage this in order to get Andrade to come back and finish out his time with the company. Why did you let him go, man?
Well, this is the reason. The reason why they let him go is because they thought that he burnt his bridges in AEW and he wouldn't go back to them. AEW re-signed him, and now they're going to enforce this 1-year non-complete and pretty much say, hey, listen, you're going to be on the shelf for 1 year now and you won't be able to do anything or make money anywhere. So why not just come back to us, finish off your deal, and then, we'll let you go afterwards. Or maybe you'll re-sign or anything on those lines. It's, I think that it's just a bizarre, crazy situation where they let this guy go thinking that he's burnt his bridges, he's not going to go anywhere, he's just too much trouble for us to handle, but then he's going to go to AEW and think, I mean, why do you think that that's a big deal? Why do you think that he's going to make he's the big difference maker that AEW need? Is it just, are you that petty that you just don't want the Don Callis family to have their 18th member?
That's always been the argument for me, is always like, when people will be like, oh, they need to make sure that Dakota Kai doesn't go over. Why? If you do not give a shit about them and you do not push them and they are not moving the needle on WWE television or whatever story you want to tell yourself to justify not using somebody and releasing them or whatever, then they are valueless to them. And then let them go elsewhere and it's not going to make a difference. If Andrade is that much of a fucking hassle, do you want him in the company anymore? Is he in any way improving the metrics to be worth the hassle for it? If it's a yes, why'd you fire him? If it's a no, why don't you fire him? Nobody keeps somebody around for a negative. Fucking how dumb can you be? And he's not going to make a big deal over in AEW. If the guy gets over in AEW and he suddenly becomes this massive deal and it's wow, okay, it's a shame that Andrade's not with us. Maybe you should have fucking done that with him. And that's on you. It's the same, I'm not even a sports guy, but it's somebody can be drafted to a baseball team. They suck. They go to another team. They end up doing really well. Then it's wow, I missed out on that guy. Well, maybe you should have coached him better, or maybe you should have figured out the fucking, whatever that is. But if I'm Andrade, I'm, maybe you could do the whole argument of wellness policy and all that other kind of stuff. Whatever it is that led to this, I'm not condoning not knowing what was going on or whatever, but the pettiness of the whole thing. If I'm hearing from WWE, why don't we, instead of being bullies, why don't you come and do fuck all for us for the next year and ride out your contract? We certainly are not going to push you or use you in any capacity, but can you beat up your body and do media for us and pretend like you're a good little soldier? I'd be nah, I'm going to go wrestle the places I can wrestle and try to make money that way. And I'll see AEW when I'm done. Or you can talk to my fucking lawyers, It'll
have to be the latter, because the problem is they're not even letting him wrestle on the indies he was scheduled for now.
And these no-compete things, again, I'm speaking to the idea of we need an adult and somebody who has, a brain and isn't just a corporate stooge who takes money and, lobbies and everything that goes along with the horrible way that politics just has always been. It's not even it's just now, but now it's just people are now I can be greedy and racist, and but the whole idea of these independent contractors thing and all that, if Andrade was fired because of like a disciplinary thing, that should be the end of it. It should terminate his contract and he should be able to go elsewhere. If he was fired because they decided they didn't just want to deal with him anymore, and it wasn't like a firing, but it was a more of like a soft, we're not going to do anything with you and we might as well part ways, then maybe that's slightly different or whatever. And if he chose to leave, then that is something where I can start getting into the whole like, all right, if he chose to sit out the rest of his contract and they paid him to sit out the contract and continue to say, did you change your mind? Then that would be a different story. But it all seems to me to point in the direction of he wants out. He had an issue. They fired him. And then they were like, yeah, but we also don't want you to be able to do anything elsewhere. Motherfucker, if you fired me, you should not have any control over that anymore.
Fundamentally, it comes down to if at any point after firing him, they didn't pay him and they stopped paying him, then this non-compete has no legs to stand on.
Right.
If they were continuing to pay him as per like a 90-day non-compete, or even like this 1 year thing, if the idea is they continue to pay him for the duration of that time, and it's just a case of he's like on, I guess what the equivalent of what we call in like the UK is kind of like a gardening leave thing in the it's basically when like a football manager or something like that gets sacked, but they're technically still under contract with him, but they just replace him and just continue to pay them while they're like for the duration of their contract. If that's the case, then that's like, okay, maybe there is some still more legal maneuvering. But if they fired him, stopped paying him, and he went to AEW, then they've got no legal leg to stand on.
Yeah. And then I would be, if I were in Andrade's shoes, lawyering up and being like, hey, judge, this is like a frivolous bullshit thing that I know I'm going to win, and I'm already going to package into this that I will countersue once I win this for them to pay all of my legal fees and more to compensate me for all this bullshit I'm going to have to go through, because there shouldn't be any grant to stand on. And then if I'm WWE and I'm looking at that, I'm going, my God, is this worth the hassle? Or do we just let this motherfucker go? And like, if you're bleeding money where you need to fire people all the time while you're making record profits and stuff like that, if it's only a matter of TKO needs to make money because they're need to balance out the sheets when it comes to UFC, or they're like, well, we spent all this money on WWE, so we need to bounce back as soon as possible with that, so let's sell the Saudi, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, then, you know, at a certain point, if you're pinching pennies, you can't waste money either. You can't say that dollar thing is a problem, so I'll spend $10 to avoid it. Totally. So this whole Andrade thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, we should just all draw a line, move on for it. But it's just like they're just gonna keep. Again, this is not like, again, this is not AEW fault. It's not even Andrade's fault, realistically. It's just like, this is the only thing that's stopping us from all just moving on from this and just getting on with our lives is WWE being petty for whatever reason.
It just goes to show you too, if that's going to be the case, then somebody's probably like, okay, well, next time around, I'll tell Tony Khan I got to wait 90 days or whatever it is, and then we'll do something. And then now they can't do anything or whatever. I don't know.
It's one of these issues, like, because the reports were coming out that like this 1 year non-compete is now standard. Is now standard in these contracts.
Well, no. It's now enforced. It was always in the contracts, which, by the way, I got to say it again. This is the third or fourth week in a row. TKO working overtime to make Vince McMahon look like more of a people person than anyone they could ever employ.
Insane.
What are we doing?
And Samantha Irving has a 2-year non-compete.
That's right. She announced that she had a 2-year non-compete. Because
if you let her go to AEW and she's the ring announcer, oh my God, that's going to cripple our sales for WrestleMania.
It's just so petty. It's all just petty. Like, if you're not here, you can't be anywhere kind of attitude. And it's got nothing to do with business or making money or anything like that. It's just them being petulant about all this stuff and trying to send a message to everyone else that if you try and leave, this is what's going to happen to you, and we'll freeze everyone out and we'll do whatever we can to prevent you from, not just like, because eventually you will just end up going there because they can't keep you indentured forever, but it's more of a case of, oh, we'll keep you so long that people will forget about you, or you won't have as much of an impact going over there because like you just like people will have lost interest in your story by the time you go over there.
Gotta vote with your money, everybody, because the only thing that controls people that have power that can manipulate people like that is when the collective good decides, well, fuck you, we don't want to give you your money. It's the only thing that works anymore.
See, I'm probably more jaded than you in that sense. I kind of feel like even if like me and you and a handful of other people were to be able to do that, I don't think it would affect these people. They have too much of it.
Well, yeah, 'cause the money comes from
the
money comes from TV
lots
deals.
of people. Yeah.
Yeah, the money comes from the TV deals now. So pretty much to the point where both WWE and AEW could probably, like, if they were continuing to be paid that much, and obviously it wouldn't work that way because you need viewership for the people, for the TV companies to pay you this way, but they could survive and be profitable if nobody ever came to any of their shows anymore.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, the live audience now, but like, if you go crazy pressuring the advertisers and then they get down on Netflix and they get, it's that kind of thing. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, the world's falling apart. Andrade is not the biggest issue people should be worried about. They should be worried about, the state of the world. But like, that's the only thing that you can do is you can fight in two different ways. You can fight with your money or you can fight with your fists. And eventually, if one doesn't work, the other one will.
Whatever happened to the pen is mightier than the sword.
There's like 3 Bond references that are just floating through my mind. I'm like, which one do I go with?
I'm invincible.
I'm like, do I go with don't touch that, it's my lunch? Like, the writing's on the wall, along with the rest of him. Like, gotta love me some GoldenEye. I have no transition for this that would make any like sense or whatever. It's not a story that you would like funny transition to or whatever like that. But WWE, former Men on a Mission, Sir Mo, Bobby Horne, passed away over this past week, age 58. I honestly thought that he was older than that. There's been some reports about like, some of the specifics about that. And like, of course, like a lot of that's, information that maybe some people do know, maybe they don't know, whatever it might be. But the one report that I had seen was like he had dealt with a lot of different issues over years. He had a lot of COVID problems. He had kidney issues, different things here and there. Some stuff about WWE not paying for those life-saving or potential life-saving kidney transplants and such. That's something that I, when you get into like certain contract things, they say that they will pay for rehab, but I guess they don't necessarily pay for other things.
Contract with them?
I don't know. That's another thing too. And like, we don't know all the ins and outs of that stuff. So like, I feel confident in saying I don't fucking understand the ins and outs of that, but I don't want to 100% vilify WWE. And at the same time, there is that part of me that's like, man, if you could help out, like, why not you help out people that used to be part of your group and stuff? But, yeah, Mo was not one of the biggest names in pro wrestling history, but he was still somebody that had been in that family and everything. And it's still unfortunate to hear about anybody passing away. And Mo is the type of wrestler that a lot of people, from my era were like, okay, Mo is a quick guy eliminated from the Royal Rumble or whatever it might be. But, yeah, he had some fun things here and there. I couldn't tell you like my favorite Mo match, but it still sucks. Yeah, it's never a good thing.
No favorite moment.
Moments. There you go. That's good.
Look, Mo. First of all, you're blowing my mind with the fact that he was only 58 years old. That's wild. Because that means when Mabel wins King of the Ring, Mo is only 28, and that's nuts. Like, that's a very young guy. A big part of that new generation era. You know what I mean? Like, did win the tag titles with Mabel, I believe, at a European house show before losing it to the Quebecers. Fought for the tag titles at WrestleMania 10. Yeah, Men on a Mission was a big deal. Like, they were a top tag team as baby faces for that couple of years, and then when Mabel had the run as the top heel in '95, Mo was right there as the sidekick. Like, it sucks, you know. Like, a lot of like hard hitting passings for a certain age group this year, and while Mo might not be, you know, legacy wise, someone like a Hogan or you know, even outside of the world of wrestling, like an Ace Frehley just died, it's still like a big wow. You know, a lot of people grew up watching him, and I think that that's sad. And you know, condolences to his family, and I will always think of Mo and think of Mabel when I talk to Tony because we made Mabel such an inside joke in our friendship. So, big sad.
Yeah, I can only just add to like it's obviously unfortunate that someone in connected to pro wrestling in any fashion passed away. I don't really know much about Men on a Mission because I wasn't watching at that time, and it's not something that I would go back to revisit. And yeah, Mo was not one of the biggest wrestlers in WWE history, but he was teamed with one of the biggest wrestlers in WWE history.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I mean, if you have any big, you know, Mo clips,
Moments.
That's it. Their moment.
Anything that, like, in the comments below, your favorite Mo match, your favorite Mo moment, whatever it might be, you know, leave a comment and give a shout out to Mo. Yeah, one more match, whatever it might be, they want to do in the comments. The other things that I got on the hot tags are essentially just breaking down some more of the TV talk. Going back to Monday Night Raw, the main thing out of everything, you know, there was like the whole Braun Breaker talking about Seth Rollins and stuff, which was essentially, okay, well, you know, it's just storyline's exactly what you would assume at this point, and there's no real movement because they're still trying to figure it out. But the two things that stand out to me more than anything about this episode of Raw were, I guess there's three things now that I'm looking at the lineup. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee won the tag titles. I did not see that coming.
So again, I found out at this point, I'm not watching Raw, and I'm kind of bummed out about other stuff. And I go on YouTube and I see AJ Styles and Dragon Lee won the tag. What's happening? And I text Tony. I'm like, is this real? And Tony says yes. And the only thing I can think of, honest to God, is someone in that writer's room, even if it was the AI, said, haha, AJ Lee. And they said, absolutely, we're going to do it. Like, how did they, why?
I don't understand the, like, you didn't need to get the belts off of the Judgment Day. I'm fine with the Judgment Day not being champions. Like, you know, it's not like I was like, oh man, you got to keep them on there forever. But like AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, you know, Dragon Lee's part of LWO, whatever. Okay. So I'm like, well, does this just mean that they're going to transition to somebody and they needed a set of baby faces? So they were like, oh, just fucking put it on them. Who cares? It's tag titles. We don't really give a shit about them to begin with. Or is this a matter of like, do they see something in this that I don't see? Or I don't know. It's weird though.
I like it. I think this is what I was talking about. This made me feel like, oh man, I kind of wish I was watching that. It would have been kind of fun to see AJ Styles and Dragon Lee win the tag titles in real time. Do more of this.
It's it's kind of one of like, just someone who obviously isn't watching, doesn't know the context of it as much. It does kind of smack of, okay, we do want to see more random, not say random, but more events happening on TV shows to make us feel like, okay, we need to watch because a title change can happen or something else unique or interesting. But it does kind of feel like, okay, but then you just throw together a random tag team to win the titles rather than, you have actual tag teams on. Like, why don't you spend more time building up actual tag teams to win tag team titles rather than just throw two guys together that probably have teamed, I don't know, 3 or 4 times at most in their entire careers, and just like, okay, you tag titles. And yeah, so it's one of those like balancing out things, like, we need to see more interesting stuff or just unique things happening on shows to keep people engaged and interested in tuning in week after week, but also actually build towards things rather than just, because the build towards this has basically been AJ Styles failing to win the Intercontinental title, so I don't know, give him the tag title instead.
Right. Which, like, that's not a 1-to-1, and not the type of thing that, like, again, I don't think like it moves needles in certain ways for it to be like, oh, but isn't this great that like AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are the tag champs? I don't think people are going to be like, well, that's the difference maker. Now I'm going to start watching Monday Night Raw. But like, it's interesting, even in the sense of what the fuck. And I'm on the lookout already for like, all right, does this mean that Los Americanos just win the titles? Is that simple? And they just needed a babyface set to transition to, or is this a matter of like, we got nothing for AJ, but if we can give him the tag titles, at least he can go and wrestle something down the line here and there. I don't know, but very weird. Not something that I was anticipating whatsoever. So like, I had already pre-written that they lose the match and whatever, that I'm just like, okay, let me go and change all that up. I did not anticipate Maxine Dupree would have survived the whole Becky Lynch thing the way that she did, where she didn't win the match or anything like any way that really mattered. It was by DQ, so they did the count out thing, did a disqualification thing. Sacramento was like the big thing because it was where she's from, so they want to milk 3 weeks out of this, and I guess next week we'll probably get some. Now it's a title match, rematch thing, and then Becky retains. I don't know. I mean, Dupree's not winning that belt, but still a little strange to do in that direction. I thought that it was just going to be Becky winning here. And here, the IC title situation is what it is. What do you guys think about the idea about this rumor floating around that John Cena will win the IC title?
I like it. I think if you were going to do it, you should have done it sooner. It's kind of annoying that they're just going to shoehorn it for November, and then maybe he drops it to Gunther. But I like it.
I think he'll just lose to Dominic Mysterio, if that's the route they're going to go down. It just seems like a weird subset thing to do. Like, does he have to be holding a title going into his final match? Can't just be the final match itself is the big moment. Like, he just chooses his final opponent and it's Gunther, or Gunther comes out and challenges him and he accepts. It's like, I just don't feel, just adding the Intercontinental title to it just doesn't feel like it's got no point to it. Especially like the idea of like, you tell me Sheamus has been waiting for ages and ages to win the Intercontinental title and talking about it, and it's just like, okay, we'll just give Cena his first Intercontinental title run, because why not?
You know that's how they work.
Yeah.
Oh well. Either way.
The other thing was, after they did, this song and dance of a bunch of different things, they did the Battle Royal, and the winner goes on to face CM Punk at Saturday night's main event for the vacated championship after Seth Rollins' injury. Braun Breaker is taken out of the match because if he's not going to win, why eliminate him? Makes perfect sense. And Jey Uso wins. So it's CM Punk, the number one contender, against the guy he beat to become the number one contender, and not LA Knight. And fans are not happy about it. I don't blame them. I get that WWE is like, well, he's a name, so let's just do that, because that quote unquote could be potentially the biggest match we could do on Monday Night Raw right now, even though we just did it and everybody is kind of past it. I care so little about this. I just want to figure out where they're going after that. because it's like, well, you put it on Jay, I'm gonna be like, that sucks. Like, if you put it on Punk, I'm just gonna be waiting until Braun Breaker beats him anyway.
I wonder if Braun Breaker beats him, or if they've slipped and fell into how they're gonna get to Punk versus Roman.
I have no interest in seeing that again.
I'm more than if they've slipped into a way of doing Jay versus Roman at WrestleMania.
But I feel like the winner of this faces Roman at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be Jay. I think they'll have Breaker come out to like cost CM Punk, and they'll go in their own direction without the title, and then they'll have Jay be the champion, just feud with random people, and it will be like, you know, I think there's a good chance at WrestleMania it's Roman, Jay, and Jimmy in a triple threat match for the title. Because they say, what a moment! It's like the family falling apart, and like
the only problem
we get to relitigate the bloodlines. Well, yeah, I have a problem with that because it sucks. That's the big problem I have with it. It's really, really fucking bad. But the idea is the only good thing they've done in the past 3 years is the bloodlines. They have to bring it back over and over and over again to make it worthwhile.
So logically, I understand what you're saying, but logically, how do you make him not go for the Cody belt, which is the one that they established, the more important one, while he was holding it? I'm guessing he has to, they have to do Royal Rumble winner takes Cody, and then Roman's forced into a position where it's the other champion. But either way, I see this being winner of this match fights Roman at Mania, because I think it was supposed to be Seth and Roman at Mania, and I think that's completely off the table.
Yeah, if and when Seth comes back and he's fit in time for WrestleMania, then obviously he'll be fighting either Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed or something like that. I can even imagine like this bizarre situation where he has to team with CM Punk against him and CM Punk against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed.
You know what? I could see that being the case, and then that stupid thing you mentioned where Roman beats the crap out of Jay and Jimmy and takes the world title.
Pins them both at the same time and wins it.
Probably, yeah.
But this is just like this is just like this whole result, and the result of the Battle Royal is just such like WWE in a nutshell. It's like you have a chance to really push a young guy, make him your world champion, make Braun Breaker like push him to the moon immediately. Like people are into him. He's already been in Crown Champion. He's been in the main roster for over a year now, so it's not like he's completely fresh out of the box. But he's still young, interesting, and different enough that you could make him a world champion. And it feels like a statement of intent. We're pushing the young guy. No, let's still give it to the 40-something-year-old guy who says yeet because he has a cool entrance that people get behind. But then when the bell rings, it's like, I want to be sick in my own mouth. Like that kind of, like, I've never seen a guy so over with so little wrestling ability. It's unbelievable. He even fucked up not the finish of this match, but he fucked up the semi-finish of this match where he barely got over in time to push Jimmy and LA Knight over the top rope. And that's part of the reason why I'm thinking it's going to be this triple threat match, because he screwed Jimmy out of a chance of winning this match. Like, took his own brother out of the Battle Royal, so they're going to be pissed at each other. Roman's going to come back, and they'll get into some sort of have some sort of issue with each other as well. I could envision a situation where Jay turns heel to beat CM Punk, and that's how he gets their own thing. So like he's now the quote unquote tribal chief, and he gets to lord his power over Roman instead.
Man, none of these sound the slightest bit interesting,
it all
like,
sucks, but that's what it is.
It's all WWE being like, "Hey, we can't get The Rock, but how about we do that thing again, just even worse? Aren't you guys interested?" And it's like, no.
Maybe we're jaded to it. Maybe there's people that are still so super clamoring for Jay to get another title reign, and we just don't know it.
Maybe, I don't know. Based off of the amount of clicks that the lowest YouTube videos or most with the dislikes or something like that, people flooded this again.
Well, okay. There's going to be some kids who like the Yeet Man. But the more Callum spoke, the more I went, yeah, that's probably exactly what they're going to do. Because the direct... Look, think what you want about Punk, but the easy thing here is just go with Punk and just let him have like a small run. But I can see them going, yeah, we'll go with Jay. We'll go with Jay, and he turns heel, and he's also honestly, if they're obsessed with getting Paul Heyman involved, maybe even Heyman helps him and says, "I groomed you to be the right hand man. I always saw your potential," and that's how you get back around to Jay and Roman, and because now Jay's got the big head, and Roman needs to be the voice of reason. The more I'm talking, the more I think this is where we're going. I don't like it, but like, it makes sense with what they do.
So I mean, that's Monday Night Raw. It's, you can get your quick rundown of it and then still not feel like you needed to watch any of it. And then we got AEW Dynamite.
Becky had a promo on Heyman where she was like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to touch you. My husband's not even going to touch you. He's just going to kill everybody around you." Which, strong promo from Becky, but then she had to play cowardly heel to Maxine, so mixed messaging there. You can carry on to NXT, or maybe not NXT.
No, we already did the NXT stuff, but we got Dynamite and we got Collision, which, between the two shows, spoilers for Collision, seems like it's a setup of like a lot of the typical AEW stuff where you got some solid matches, you got some things that are going on that can push some stories forward, you got some that are, it's a minimal storyline, but hey, at least it's something. And a very WWE based thing that I don't like is having Samoa Joe be like, we're going to just do another match. And then also on Collision, Paige is like, yeah, you going to threaten me? I'll threaten you. Fuck you, pal. I don't like that. I'm not digging the Samoa Joe and Adam Page feud. How about you guys?
I thought the match was good, and I'm willing to see, where this next chapter goes, but it does feel more like a holding pattern than it does something exciting and, fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect like Joe to beat Hangman in the end for it to still be like Hangman gets the victory. I mean, I'm more just interested about the direction they go after this feud, because there'll be all of the ops will be heels at that point, and then what they plan to do with all of them beyond this feud. This, I think, I'm almost more interested for this for the basis of setting the stage for what the future of these three guys is going to be once Joe loses to Hangman for the second time.
Yeah, then it's just going to be, well, I want another. He's going to do the one more match thing or something.
Well, I'd probably go with the direction of like the ops falling apart and like which one of them is the babyface out of the group of them. Like, is it like, does Hobbs, like the Hobbs and Joe go into a rivalry off the back of it?
It'll probably be Hobbs, because Hobbs is the youngest of the three, and he can maybe fight against the two veterans if they do choose to go that route.
And, I mean, that's quote unquote a spoiler for when it comes to the Hangman Adam Page promo. It's not really that much of a spoiler. You kind of assume that he would do something like that. But we got more with the women's tag team title tournament going on. We got a bracket now. We got a first round match that had been determined prior to the bracket even. We had some team names going on and everything too. So Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata beat Megan Bain and Penelope Ford, Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale, who are now the Babes of Wrath, which is like, okay, that's a good enough team. And the Sisters of Sin, Sky Blue and Julia Hart. They pick Hart and Blue to be in their first round set up for that. And, okay, makes sense. And the bracket is essentially broken down as you got Hayter and Aminata against Julia Hart and Sky Blue. And then on the other like left-hand side of the bracket and everything, you've got, let me bring up the list now because I
I've got the whole bracket up. I can go through it. So on the left hand
I had
side,
the list on the other thing. Okay, yeah.
Amanat and Haver and the Sisters Finn, and then you got Willow and Harley, and then it's Mercedes and Athena are the other team on that side of the bracket. And then on the right hand side, you have Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa versus Alex Windsor and Riho. And then the final match is Megan Bain and Penelope Ford versus Tay J. So Taikon Chi and Ty Mello, should I say? Went all the way back to Taikon Chi for a second there. Ty Mello and Anna J. Yeah.
So, and I look at that, I think, okay, Windsor and Riho don't beat Storm and Shirakawa. The timeless love bombs most likely win that.
Yeah.
Tay J and Megabad, if it's Storm and Shirakawa, I would assume Bane and Ford probably win so that they go up against them, but it's not a guarantee. You could very easily just do Tay J against timeless love bombs. But Athena and Mercedes against Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. I can't see Aminata and Hayter winning that 4-way and then losing to Hart and Sky Blue. So
I definitely can see it. Yeah.
I think so.
That's the reason they won it is that they get to choose and then they lose, and then it's the kind of like the catharsis of it.
I was thinking more so Athena and Mercedes beat Harley and Willow, and then Athena and Mercedes beat Hayter and Aminata, and the big setup is Athena and Mercedes against Storm and Shirakawa in the end.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I firmly see like Chris Statlander's going to cost Mercedes in. I'd say argue like the first round, let alone the semi-finals. I think Willow and Harley. I think the final's going to be based on what I see the lineup being. I think it's going to be Tony and Mina versus Willow and Harley.
Until I saw the bracket, I wanted it to be Athena and Mercedes against Timeless Love Bomb, but I think Callum's right. I think with the history of Mercedes and Harley and Chris and Harley and Chris and Willow, I think Chris helps Babes of Wrath win. And then I think that eventually sets up for Athena is going to fight Mercedes at Final Battle. But I would have loved to see, Athena, Mercedes go all the way. I would love to see TJ go all the way. I'm not a big fan of how we're not getting a lot of new women on TV. We're just sort of giving the women that are normally on TV now a prize to fight for, which is a positive, don't get me wrong. But I was hoping to get, at least 2 to 4 new women in the mix, maybe, by creating some tag team combinations. And hopefully these belts do that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, who do you expect? Like who's new on the roster that could be in a tag team?
Not new per se, but like not as used. Like you could do, like, I know Yuka Sakazaki was teaming with Windsor. I don't know why she's not teaming with Windsor on the in the tournament, but
I'd assume because not many people would care more so than.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's what you've been building on ROH, you've had them in several tag matches, and then you're not, using them as a team in your tag tournament. It's just weird. Like, I love Athena and Mercedes. Why isn't Billy with Athena?
That's kind of weird.
It's because the whole story is like Mercedes wants to just win as many belts as possible, and so they're just like then forming almost like this super team to try that should, in theory, be able to sweep the entire competition and win both titles because you've got the longest reigning Ring of Honor Women's Champion of all time, and Mercedes has got 12 belts now. It's like, okay, they'll just go on and win it. So I think that's the reason why they'll lose in the first round, is to add that kind of both that shock effect and also just because the final is taking place at Full Gear, right? I assume it will take place at Full Gear.
Have they confirmed that yet?
I don't know if they've confirmed it, but you would assume that it would be.
Yeah, and we already know that Mercedes is fighting Chris Statlander for the world title at Full Gear, so I don't think they would put her in the tag title final and the world title match as well. I think that I think that they have to lose at some point. And I think that's the reason why I'm going with like Willow and Harley to win the whole thing, because I think they're just going to go with this big underdog babyface story of these two people that are super beloved by the fans. They'll finally win the title. They'll beat kind of like the favourites, Tony and Mina. Tony and Mina get upset about it, and I think that's when you turn Tony heel by having her take out Mina Shirakawa, and then you move in that direction.
See, I think we're just getting Tony and Mina win, and then they make a lot of jokes about swinging and orgies.
That's kind of what I'm anticipating. Yeah, that's why I think it'll be them against Athena and Mercedes. Because I also think that like they've done a few instances of people doing double matches, so like they've established now that they could do that. But then again, if they didn't announce exactly when it's going to be too, it could just be another night. I think also tag champs are going to be crowned at some point, so that's interesting.
Well, I think another discussion point for it is the fact that like this is going to be going on while Blood and Guts happens.
That's true.
Blood and Guts will happen. It's happening before Full Gear, so like these tag team title tournament is also going to have to take presumably a break unless all the people that will be competing in the Blood and Guts match aren't involved in the tournament, which you say is pretty much impossible because, well, the only way that is possible, presumably, is if the final is Mercedes and Athena versus one of probably Tony and Mina or Windsor and Riho, because all the people that are involved in the Blood and Guts, Willow, Harley, Aminata, Hater, Sisters Sin, Bane and Ford, then you throw in Tekla and probably throw in someone else on the babyface side, maybe Riho or Alex Windsor or whoever. And so yeah, maybe then that's the route that you get to Mercedes and Athena, because they wouldn't be involved in Blood and Guts at all. But I still just think it seems overkill to me to do the tag team title final at Full Gear, have Mercedes and Athena either win or Tony and Mina win, and then have her straight away have to fight Chris Statlander for the world title as well, which I also think should be main eventing that show.
I think it could main event whatever show that they crown them on, unless it's a pay-per-view.
I know. I mean, the main event in the pay-per-view, I should say, should be Mercedes against Statlander.
Ah.
It should be because the other world title match is going to be Paige versus Samoa Joe, which we've already seen and doesn't feel like a super hot match. This one with Mercedes and Statlander, you have the history of the fact their first match with each other was at Full Gear last year, where they had like that excellent match for the TBS Championship. This time you build it up with Mercedes has got all these titles. She just needs to win the big one now. Statlander, it helps establish her more to make her the main eventer of the show. I just think it has way more legs than anything else they could put on the show against it.
I mean, Paige and Joe should not main event. And you got a title for title match? Realistically, you probably should.
Well, it depends. I guess it depends on what
it's not a title. Yeah. And also, it's not a title for title match. It's just for the world title.
Oh, that's true.
It should be a title for title, but it's not. But it also depends on whether or not whether Moxley and Darby end up having like that exploding barbed wire death match or something to make it even more final.
And at a certain point, how much more final can that get to? You know? But
somebody's gonna be burned continuing. Alive.
Yeah. We got the Darby Allin stuff of Dynamite, of course. You know, he's not far behind. He helps out when it comes to saving the conglomeration and everything like that. Fletcher turned down another match from Mark Briscoe, who just wants one more match. Okada retained the unified title over Bandito. Had more issues with Takeshita, so talked about the whole New Japan thing. Thought it was a little bit weird that the Kyle O'Reilly match ended with Moxley like almost tapping out and doing that whole why are we telling that story now? That,
because he's scared that he quit. He doesn't want to do it again.
I think that it's almost made me like the finish to the Wrestle Dream match more. Seeing what happened on this show, which is like I saw someone write about it online, right? And even though it doesn't change my perspective completely, I think that it was a nice counter argument to my issues with the Wrestle Dream main event, which is Moxley quitting early and quitting quickly to just the Scorpion Deathlock was by design. The fact that his spirit had died before his body could. And then following up with this with essentially Mox panicking while in another submission hold and just thinking, I think they're telling a story that Moxley's kind of like mentally checked out or spiritually or how his will has died and he's just going through the motions now. And you can kind of tell, like, I think the whole story they're telling now is the sense the Death Riders are going to sense that and they're going to sense that Moxley is just, he just isn't at the same level and he just doesn't have the intensity or the focus that he used to have. And so it will eventually end with them kicking him out and shelving him for a while before he comes back, like, renewed and with a different mindset and focus. But yeah, that's the story they're telling right now with the Kyle O'Reilly thing, is that he got himself disqualified because he knows that he's just I guess inclined to quit now because he just doesn't have the spirit behind him that he used to have, or the conviction that he had while he was world champion.
Can't say I love
It's
it,
a
but
little
maybe there's something. About acceleration, kind of already talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the Bandito Okada match was fantastic, by the way. Like, great main event, and I love the finish with like him going for the 21 plex and Okada just backing away from the ropes just as Bandito's coming in. So he goes for 21 plex. He's got no ropes to bounce off of, and then Okada just immediately turns into the Rainmaker to get the victory. So I think it was not so disappointed, but like it would have been cool to see Bandito win the title because it just helps elevate that a little bit more. But I think it was just like you can't mess with the Takeshita Okada feud at this point. So,
and if you don't want to know the spoilers for the collision, then earmuffs. But nothing like earth shattering or whatever. They're just matches. Jet Speed and Jurassic Express beat the Young Bucks and FTR for that $400,000 match. Pac beats Tomohiro Ishii to no surprises whatsoever. Tekla beats Mina Shirakawa. CMLL's Olympia beats Taya Valkyrie. Ace Austin beats Brian Keith, and Hook makes Griff Garrison tap out.
Who the fuck is Griff Garrison?
Where the fuck is that Heritage Cup? It's my response.
That's a different show. I don't know.
Yeah. Any other hot tags that we should talk about? Anything else you guys want to break down?
I think we're good. I'll do one last check real quick, but they just announced new recruits to the Performance Center.
Did they? Where did they announce it? Is it Twitter? Is this one of those like you gotta find it?
It's a WWE thing, yeah.
This was Twitter, but also I think WWE.com did. Actually, no, just Twitter.
It's almost always never WWE.com.
So, Mike D from WXW, Jamie Garcia, who wrestles as Zozoya, Surreal, I can't pronounce his last name because it's French, who wrestled as Agile Blanc. So they were kind of known to sign. I know Fightful had reported that previously. And then there's one MMA guy who signed as well. So
I'd like to hear about their releases in 6 months' time.
Right?
Oh, geez.
Yeah. No idea who they are, but congrats to them. There's an Evolve person that's going to be drafted, quote unquote, to LFG, or there's an LFG person that's going to be drafted to Evolve next week, and multiple ID scouts or something. I don't know, the ID people or whatever. If it's the LFG crew, then that could be Shiloh Hill. That could be.
It should be.
I'm assuming it's PJ Vasa.
All right, they have.
They trademarked the whole Pinita Tuatapa name, so it's probably what makes the most sense. But I mean, maybe it's out of nowhere, Layla Rell popped up as Gintala, so maybe this is like Xena Sterling or something. But when you fire half the people from LFG, like Hayes Jameson and all, then you don't have a whole lot of people left that you can pick from for that. Anything else, though, that'll happen. We'll roll into next week. Of course, for you to follow everything that's going on, check out smarkandmama.com and check out all the links you can find at amangotree.com. And if you enjoyed our random Fanboys Anonymous discussion, then show your support for Fanboys Anonymous as well. For all those links you can find there. You can find my personal links all there as well, too. It's anthonymango.com just as much as it's amangotree.com. So click on all those things, follow me on those platforms, and follow what Rob and Callum are up to.
Yep. Follow me at Dude Felice everywhere, and follow Callum.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky Weekmeister 14. Check out the power rankings every Saturday over on smarkandmoment.com. I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And then head on over to the Fantasy League, wwefantasyleague.com, to see how our rosters are doing as Tony continues to run away with everything.
Woo.
So yeah, just follow along for the procession pretty much at this point.
I mean, those 50 points that I took for that are just going to offset all the fucking AJ Lee points I keep losing. So eventually, at some point, it's going to start becoming a problem.
I don't think it's going to become a problem until, because I'm now caught in this awful catch-22 where I know the second I decide to drop Bianca Belair, she's going to come back.
Oh, absolutely.
So I just at this point, she's already cost me pretty much any hope I had of winning this thing. It's been dashed by her, so I might as well just keep her on for the long haul at this point. See how little points she gets me.
Yeah, it'd be like coming out at a grand score of negative however many.
Like, dude, they brought her back for Evolution as like in the guest referee capacity. I thought, okay, that must be a sign that she's going to be back at least by SummerSlam, and then it just keeps going. How bad had she like lost all her fingers at this point? It must be something along those lines.
Some kind of a knuckle thing, I think, is supposedly the problem. I don't know.
She's going to be getting a knuckle sandwich if she doesn't get back soon.
That's
a joke. I don't attack women.
No, he's joking.
You know.
And she would completely destroy you.
I was willing to that. Throw you around.
Yeah,
she would kick the asses of all three of us without batting an eye.
With a broken knuckle.
Right. Yeah. One-handed, she'd take us all out. I have no reservations that she could do that. Yeah, keep in mind that the next time you're going to be hearing from us is going to be the NXT Halloween Havoc post-show. So live coverage of that event on smartcomoma.com tomorrow. It starts at, I believe, 6 p.m. for the countdown, 7 p.m. for the main show. So probably somewhere in that 10 to 11 range, we'll be doing the podcast. And hope you join me for that. Hope you stick around for next week, where we will have our continued onslaught of pay-per-views and everything that is just like for the whole rest of the year. There's like everything is a pay-per-view. So it's, or, you know, a pay-per-view adjacent thing. So Saturday night's main event predictions will come around. Then we have the 2 blank weeks before we get into Full Gear predictions, Survivor Series predictions, NXT Deadline predictions, Saturday night's main event predictions, and then the end of the year awards.
Go to hell.
And then World's End predictions. And then it's January 1st. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pay-per-view prediction things, the awards, and then 2 blank weeks that are prior to Survivor Series. So if you have, you know, you really want us to do something like the What If, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, WWE, AEW, blah, blah, blah thing that we've done plenty of times in the past. That's not even counting ROH Final Battle predictions, too. That'll be in the hot tag, so that's another one. And TNA. There's TNA ones that'll get in there too. Dark casts are going to be a great chance to do something else. So drop your ideas of what you want us to see us to do going forward. Stay tuned. Leave your comments below. And we will see you next time, everybody. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment. And we're being counted out.